Five Nights at Sonic's is a FNAF fan game series created by the Switchup, previously known as I Am Mario. And I bet quite a lot of you at least heard about it during your time in FNAF fandom. I mean, it's only like one of the most popular FNAF fan game series out there that is still kept alive by its fans, only behind Five Nights at Wario's if you ask me, and I used to really like the series. When I was watching Luigi Kid and Taste the Gaming play them back in the primary school and considered them to be the peak of FNAF fan games. And over 11 years later, yes, that much time has passed since its release, I want to check out if the games still hold up, or if nostalgia has secretly blinded me to the quality of these games. There are supposedly only 7 official games for me to cover, but that would be like saying Jollibees wasn't part of the Jolly series. Because there are, in fact, over 14 games in the series. And before you write in the comments, yes, I am well aware some of those people were not so good. However, since I don't really want to skip on games, I will compromise by keeping the mentions to the minimum and presenting what they did. Adding to that pile of things I have to mention is that I cannot guarantee that all the information in the video is accurate. I have taken information from several sources. Mostly unofficial because while the main wiki is the main wiki, it lacks so many games and so much information that it is unreliable when it comes to researching anything. And as you know, I am not one to skim on juicy details and information, so if anything is wrong, I'm sorry, but with the amount of information being hidden over the years, it is really hard to research this series. Oh, and if you are curious what I consider official, it is everything found on this list made by PJ Mixed. And all currently official games are played through the Five Nights at Sonic's Collection 2.0. With all that said, everything has to start somewhere, so let's go back to the beginning, which, like for many fan games, is 2015. Five Nights at Sonic's released on February 1st, 2015. The story for creation of it is a bit hard to find, but it seems like the game was at first nothing more than a joke, as the first screen when starting the game would suggest. According to Wiki and few other sources, it all started when Switchup made a drawing of FNAF animatronics hiding in the FNAF 1 office from Sonic.exe. I cannot find that image anywhere, but considering it is continuously mentioned, I have to assume it existed at some point. Here's my personal interpretation of it. The image in turn became an inside joke with Switchup's friends group at school, and then Switchup decided to make it into a FNAF fan game because, well, that's what the new hot thing at the playground was, which I can only confirm. Five Nights at Freddy's was a new hot thing back in the day, and sometime later, the game was released and was a big hit. I mean, it was the height of creepypasta and horror game popularity, and you tell me a FNAF clone with creepy Sonic wouldn't work after Sonic.exe became an internet celebrity? But I'm not here to discuss the popularity of the game, I'm here to discuss the first entry in the franchise, which, to say it lightly, is not that good. But maybe let's start from the menu, because there isn't much to talk about. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but it's anything but interesting. At least characters aren't a static image and actually change into this bloody version from time to time, but it doesn't excuse a bland menu design. Starting a new game, we get thrown into night 1, and no, we aren't even given a newspaper. The office is interesting. The angle is trying to recreate the FNAF 1 office with doors, lights and cameras, but it's also a static image that doesn't scroll, which actually helps with pressing the buttons if you ask me. At least it doesn't have a terrible scrolling most every FNAF fan games have. So maybe let's address the elephant in the room, the graphics. You may think that this was all made in MS Paint, and for the most of the series, that statement is correct. It is mostly made in MS Paint. Except for the first entry, because according to the wiki, the graphics were apparently all drawn in Flipnote Studio of all things. Yeah. All graphics were first drawn on DSi and then moved to PC for coloring and implementation. I am not sure if I am more impressed or scared of this technique, but I will say that it gives the series a very original look. Everything is a bit misaligned, characters don't have their proportions quite right, and yeah, it looks like a crude MS Paint drawing, but I still find it quite charming, and the crudeness of it all has definitely become a big part of the series' core identity. So on night 1, you are contacted by Luigi, who was the last guard who worked here a week beforehand. Wait, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 office, Fungi who worked here a week beforehand. The cameras are pretty much just FNAF 1 again. Yeah, that's the second elephant in the room. The first few games are just direct copies of Five Nights at Freddy's, changing barely anything gameplay-wise. As the series goes on, it does get more creative, but right now, it's your cookie-cutter FNaF fun game. Location looks exactly the same, cameras have the same names, the only real difference is that the kitchen camera is active, and while it is interesting and it lets you see characters on it, it adds nothing to the gameplay, which is also the exact same as in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Well, okay, gameplay is a bit different, but I'll get to it shortly. Okay, going back to Luigi, however, his VA is fine, but he doesn't really sound Luigi enough. I don't know how else to describe him.
Hello? Hello? Oh, hey, you must be the new night guard. It's me, Luigi.
But he does drop some pretty important lore for the game, that the characters we see on stage aren't the real versions of them, but clones of them. Because, you know, they are heroes and don't have time to sit in one location entertaining customers, so instead they created machines to make clones of the heroes to entertain the customers while they are off to do something else. Good idea, but I can only wonder if any of them got some kind of existential crisis because they are only copies meant to be performers in Pizzeria rather than heroes saving the day. On night 1 you are attacked by Mario and Yoshi, and before you say that's a Nintendo property, yeah, you're correct. The only characters here that are from Sonic are only Sonic and Tails, with Mario and Yoshi as substitutes because Switchup allegedly didn't know how to draw anyone else from Sonic universe. Which was a pretty good decision from a creative standpoint if you ask me. Yeah, it may not be 100% Five Nights at Sonic's, but I think having Nintendo characters makes the series less limited, and to be fair, for the most part, it keeps itself to Sonic origins more than Mario's. Okay, so Mario supporting his Mario Land 2 Bunny power-up, is Bonnie going to the left door, and Yoshi is Chica going to the right door. Close the door when you see them. The clones also have those red eyes, which I'm more than sure is a not so subtle reference to Sonic.exe. Again, this was 2015, and Sonic.exe was one of the most popular creepypastas back then, so I can see it being used here to maybe try to ride off the wave of the .exe popularity. Or maybe it was just a stolen idea, who knows? And that is honestly all for night 1. On night 2, Tails gets introduced, and he's the Foxy of this game. If he's not in his cove, close the left door. His jumpscare is a bit different from Foxy's, as he rushes into the room and jumps at you, which is pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. Also, he doesn't seem to drain the power when banging on the doors, as far as I'm aware, making him fairly easy to deal with. But I don't think the camera slows him down like it did for Foxy, nor does he have a running down a hole animation. He just disables the camera, which I assume is just the lack of skills. Other than that, the Sonic poster in the office can change to this evil version with an evil nose honk. Yeah, okay, let's move on. Night 3 introduces Sonic, and you may expect that he will be the Freddy of this game, but he is not. Instead, he is essentially a second Yoshi, going to the right door and appearing at them, unlike Freddy that waits in the corner before attacking. Weird change, but my best guess is that it is another case of being Switchup's first game ever and lacking the knowledge to make an enemy like Freddy. And this is pretty much everyone. And you would think that this would make the game easy, because we do not have Freddy and the mechanics are pretty much just Five Nights at Freddy's 1 again, but for some reason, this game is pretty damn hard because of one small thing. Power. Let me just say it out loud, power usage in this game is absurd. Like, oh my god, don't you dare enter the yellow or your power and chances of survival are gone in seconds. Which means that this game has a pretty big focus on power management, making this way harder than the original FNaF if you ask me, which I guess can be a selling point to some people, but for me, it was just annoying and hardly ever felt fair. Alright, let me just skim over night 4 and 5 then. On night 4 Luigi dies, just like every FNaF 1 fungi is prophesied to do. Oh, also, may as well mention Golden Sonic's existence. Yeah, he's a Golden Freddy replacement. You check the corner camera, see a Golden Sonic poster, and he appears in the office. Pick the cameras back up to not die. I mean, I can give him that he looks kinda cool, but that's all he really is. A Golden Freddy replacement. On night 5, a funny thing happened where after running out of power, Sonic straight up didn't show up at the door. For night 5, you get a paycheck addressed to Knuckles the Kidnap. Well, at least now we know who he played as. Couldn't Knuckles just punch the clones in the face though? Or is he prohibited from doing that? Yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense now that I think about it. And we get the first star, and night 6 unlocked. Night 6 is just harder than night 5, you get some more rings and unlock custom night, which would be pretty hard, but this game actually has a funny little exploit. If you leave the right door open, you will only be attacked when you pick up the camera, And outside of losing control over the right door, left one is still fully operational, meaning you can keep the right door open all night, and after that you just need to close the left one when Mario or Tails starts running down the hallway. But it's actually not a requirement, as on my first attempt I bet 420 without using it, so... yeah, no, it doesn't make the power situation any better. And after beating that, you get fired for attitude, odor, and not watching the Master Emerald. The last one is pretty valid in my opinion. Knuckles is slacking when it comes to his only responsibility. And this is all for 5 Nights at Sonic's 1. And all I have to say about it is that it's FNaF 1 with crude graphics, a bad attempt at making it more difficult, and seemingly a fresh take on 5 Nights at Freddy's story. I mean, I don't know about you, but I like the idea of using clones instead of animatronics, and I hope the idea will be elaborated on later on. And for the first game ever made by the Switchup, I will have to say, it's not half that bad of an attempt to do 5 Nights at Freddy's 1 again. Yeah, the power is unbalanced and we lack proper Freddy, but it is still miles above a lot of other fun games that attempted that. And more importantly, it was an instant hit on YouTube, as expected. And so, with that boost, work on the second game began. Five Nights at Sonic's 2 released on 16th of April 2015. Can you guess what game this one copies? Yeah, it's a carbon copy of FNaF 2. And if I'm going to be honest, outside of teasers and a rebuild that is honestly not that interesting, there is no interesting story about the development of this game. It is just a quickly made sequel to capitalize on the popularity of the original game, which, considering it was developed in 2 months, I shouldn't be surprised if it isn't too original. Oh wait, I already told you this is a carbon copy of FNaF 2, so maybe I should just stop delaying and get through this game as quickly as possible. When you boot into the game for the first time, you are shown a cutscene depicting Night 4 of Five Nights at Sonic's 1. The guard runs out of power and gets attacked by Sonic. I assume this is Luigi's POV? Anyway, the title screen is pretty much Five Nights at Sonic's 1 title screen again, but with new font and characters. Sure, characters are in different positions and still flicker between 2 versions, but to be honest, this is just the first title screen, but arranged differently. Starting the game, we actually get a newspaper advertising that a new establishment is opening, and they are looking for a night guard. So I appear in the office and... what is there to say really? It's FNaF 2 office. A big hallway in the middle, 2 vents on the side. There is basically no originality here. Office does scroll now, unlike the first game, even if it's a bit junky, and when you get to the far side of the room the UI flickers for some reason. It's nothing game breaking, but it is a weird detail I noticed. Cameras are also taken straight from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and are useless except for the music box camera. And of course you have a flashlight that has way too much battery in it. I never run out of it. So this time the fungi introduces himself as Knuckles. How is he a fungi if he was fired in the last game? Oh, okay, so he was simply rehired a week before us and was taught to record messages for us. I mean, I guess fair enough. It is still weird that they would hire a fired employee again, but okay, we can roll with that. He introduces us to toy animatronics, and I don't think I need to explain who they replace. The only complaint I have is that their arms have a lot of segments, which make them look quite weird, but other than that, they look alright. And why of course they walk around the place till they get to the office and you put on the mask to deter them. The puppet in the prize corner was replaced with Reimagined, and honestly, he looks pretty alright for a puppet replacement, even if, once again, he lacks any original elements outside of not being a puppet. Of course, he requires a music box to be one, otherwise you are dead. And that's all for night 1. Night 2 introduces 3 new threats: Tango, Balloon Toad, and Withered Tails. Tango is, in my opinion, a genius name, but the design is a little lacking. It doesn't have the same tangled up mess vibe of the original Mango, but I guess there's only so much you can make in paint with minimal art skills. Balloon Toad is perfect. I couldn't think of a better character to replace Balloon Boy, and he acts exactly like him, but I think he also visits a few more rooms before he enters vents. And both of them are deterred with the mask, and Tango makes the noise when she enters the office. And Tails looks a bit bad up since the last time we saw him. He looks like he got into some kind of fight in the back alley and got slashed in it, but I guess he's fine with having open wounds. Okay, I think this requires some lore explanation. So according to Knuckles, the clones from the last location were brought here and are kept in the back room where the camera is conveniently disabled. And as you can guess, he is the withered Foxy replacement, and whenever you see him in the hallway, mash flashlight to get rid of him. Not hard to deal with since we have practically infinite flashlight, and since this is the second night of a FNaF 2 clone, that means that next night, night 3, introduces remaining withered clones. Personally, withered Mario has the coolest design of the clones, with half of his face gone, showing a grey skull and missing an arm. I mean, it's just withered Bonnie again, but we all know that withered Bonnie is a peak design that cannot be improved, only imitated. But I still have to ask, how are they walking with those wounds? Are clones just incapable of bleeding out or something? Yoshi looks better, but she seems to be missing her hands. Oh wait, no, hands are just curled up into this. And Sonic is more similar to Tails, just looks like he went to London and came back. And just like the toys, all of them are dealt with the mask. And yep, this is everyone. Which is exactly where Five Nights at Freddy's 2 originality ended, if I'm going to be honest. And since no one gets added on night 4 and 5, and nothing noteworthy happened, let's skip to the paycheck. It appears we played as Amy Rose. Girl really said that catching real Sonic is too hard, so she will simp for his clone and the robot versions of him. Sure, why not? With that, we unlock extras and night 6. On night 6, the actual last character, Golden Sonic, gets introduced and he's once again a Golden Freddy replacement. Whenever he's in the office, put on a mask. Although he does look different compared to his last appearance, which does look better if you ask me, but I'm not sure why did this happen in the first place. And since now everyone is here, it is time to talk about the gameplay. It is Five Nights at Freddy's 2, what did you expect? But oddly enough, at least to me, this game is very easy compared to the original and Five Nights at Sonic's 1. It's not that I'm not attacked often, I think the game has some similar flow to the original FNaF 2, but the flashlight being powered up by some high-grade batteries makes it really hard to run out of it, meaning all you need to care about is winding up the music box, putting on the mask, and flashing the fox. I don't want to complain per se, but it is a weird jump from the first game's rather high difficulty. And after night 6 we get a paycheck and unlock custom night. A lot of changes, just like in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, that I am not willing to waste my time on. Even if they do give you desk flashes. Finishing max mode, you don't actually get fired like every other game, and are instead rewarded for your hard work and are invited to work for the next week. Is this the first FNaF fan game that didn't fire you at the end of the week? I can't really recall one that wouldn't fire you after night 7. So that is a very interesting plot twist. And as you can guess, since we didn't get fired, that means that there is night 8. You get into it by setting everyone's AI to 8 in the custom night menu. Night 8 isn't that much harder than max mode, but you get a weird phone call at the beginning.
There is no escape, no way out, no joy, no happiness, no light, no time, no fun, no knowing, no tomorrow, no forgetting me. No way you'll see that all of this was me. No being set free, no matter what you do, you'll always lose twice, you'll see.
The interesting thing, however, is what you get after finishing it, as we are shown a news article that Amy is now missing alongside Luigi. It is a pretty cool twist, but I could see it coming considering we didn't get fired on night 7. Though thank god it means I don't have to play for another 7 nights with nothing changing in gameplay. Okay, let's quickly tackle the extras menu. You can check your standard stuff like characters, jump scares, and 2 whole minigames you can get when dying. In the first one, you play as Sonic in the first location. You follow your friends into a secret room in the back of the show stage and find some blue rectangles, which I assume are cloning machines mentioned in the last game. After entering it, the minigame ends. In the second minigame, you play as Eggman, entering the same room and I think messing with the control panel. Shortly after that, Sonic and friends exit the machine, after that the clones with the evil eyes. So it seems like it was Eggman who is responsible for making the clones evil. And that's it really. This was Five Nights at Sonic's 2. And overall, Five Nights at Sonic's 2 was Five Nights at Freddy's 2. The story is definitely trying to go somewhere that isn't just Five Nights at Freddy's again, but the gameplay is, and I'm tired of repeating myself, just Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Same mechanics, location, replacements, there is no originality to be found in the first 2 games outside of the rough look and reinterpretations of the animatronics designs into Sonic characters. You really are just better off playing FNaF 1 and 2, because I cannot see someone playing it outside of nostalgia. But just like the first game, it was a big hit, still making some good numbers on YouTube, which must have been what mattered the most. At this time, Sarah formed a team called Five Nights at Sonic's development team, later changed into Team Scientix, which primarily developed Five Nights at Sonic's games. But they also made some miscellaneous titles that are not related to Five Nights at Sonic's. Well, sounds like a video for the future. and almost all games from this point on were made by that team unless stated otherwise. Just like the next one. Five Nights at Sonic's 3, released on 15th of September 2015. Can you guess what game this one is? Yes, it's Five Nights at Freddy's 3, but actually a bit different this time. And this game marks the moment in the timeline for Five Nights at Sonic's games, where games become more original and stop being simple reskins of Five Nights at Freddy's. And this game in particular seems to be a bit of a fan favorite title in the series. Now, is it any good? Has it done enough to make Five Nights at Freddy's loop more interesting, which personally to this day hasn't really been improved on? Have the whole 5 months of development helped in making the game better? Let's find out. Mania is a great improvement over the first two, seems like Sonic has seen better days, and we get return of Cursive. Starting a new game, we get a newspaper hiring new guards for the new Sonic's Hero Pizza Palace location, yeah, you get the gist. On night 1, you are introduced to Silver the Hedgehog as your phone guy.
Hello? Oh, you're here early today. Good. Now I can tell you about this place. Welcome to Sonic's Hero Pizza Palace, the third building in the establishment. My name is Silver the Hedgehog.
Oh, would you look at that? It's the game Salmon again. He takes you through the basics on how to Five Nights at Freddy's 3. You have your maintenance panel, camera panel with all the cameras from the original game with some nuance, and oh my god, Sonic, what happened to you? As you can guess, this Sonic, called Savage Sonic, is our Springtrap of the game and main threat tonight. Yes, it is night 1 of Five Nights at Freddy's 3 fan game, and we already have an active threat. That's not common, believe it or not. And of course he tries to get to you. He can enter vents that can be sealed, or only one vent because I only ever saw him go to this one and not other one. And also following sounds from Toad. Outside of being your standard Springtrap model in new sheets, I have to ask the obvious question. How is he not dead yet? Just look at him, he has an exposed ribcage, out of open wounds, and is missing an arm. Like, how is the dude alive? According to the lore, they use medicine and holograms to cover up his injuries and lessen the pain during the day, and I mean, he looks good for a fucked up version of a Sonic, but I'm still questioning how is he alive? Can he feel the pain of his wounds? Is he okay with this? However, there are two more things you will be introduced to tonight that switch up the gameplay a bit. Like the power mechanic. It isn't your standard FNaF meter, but more of a timer that constantly ticks down, and when it reaches 0, you are dead. To increase it, you go to the reboot panel and reboot it just like any other system. And from experience, you need to do this around 3 times a night. Another thing you will notice is that unlike the last two games, shifts don't end at 6 AM, but rather at 8 AM, and every hour lasts 1 minute. So every night is by extension 8 minutes long. Except for the night 1, where you start at 10 PM instead of 12 AM, making it 10 minutes long, which is a little much for the first night. But hey, at least we can see the first hints of originality here. Let's see where it goes from here. After each night, you are presented with a minigame. Tonight, Mario Clone talks with Yoshi about Sonic being gone from the stage, and Mario decides to go look for him. You can walk around the location that I thought was the first Five Nights at Sonic's location, but the layout doesn't seem to match, so I guess this is some other location. After walking for a while, I stepped on some wires, I guess. Walking down the corridor, Eggman attacks Mario and murders him. On night 2, you immediately notice a new addition to the mechanics, that being the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 mask. That's right, the mask mechanic is back in full force because of withered toy animatronics. You could see them last night in the closet camera, but tonight, withered toy Sonic activates. And he looks pretty good for a destroyed version of a toy animatronic. Some wires sticking out, missing parts of his body, standard stuff, but done pretty well in this art style. You will either go through the window or the vent in the arcade, and when he reaches your office, you put on the mask and wait for him to leave. This seems to address the original issue of Five Nights at Freddy's 3 of having only one real enemy and having you only focus on Springtrap. And the mask mechanic seems to take care of both problems at the same time. The solution isn't perfect by any means, but I think it's a good enough way to keep the gameplay from becoming just Five Nights at Freddy's 3 again. And besides, this was still made in 2015. This is like a pinnacle of creativity at the time. Not so much today, but hey, it is still something. Other than withered toys, the first Phantom animatronics joined the game. Phantom Mario is a Phantom Freddy of the game, walking behind the window and attacking if looked at for too long alongside Phantom Balloon Toad. see him on the camera, switch or turn them off to not get jump scared. Oh, and also, Silver mentioned that the building used wires from the storage facility and hoped that they weren't stepped on too much, because if they were, the place may catch fire from faulty electronics.
There's these loose wires we found hanging from the wall that we used from our storage place we set up. Stuff happened there that we also don't want to talk about, but these same wires were used here, and we just hope that they weren't stepped on too much. If they were, it could cause a fire here. And we don't want that.
Worth to keep in mind. Alright, in the minigame you play as Yoshi, walk down the same corridor, step on wires, get murdered. Night 3 adds withered toy Mario. Once again, I think he looks pretty great. Really, no complaints here, I just like the design. He also goes through the hallway like Toy Sonic, but only when not looked at. If you aren't looking at the camera or maintenance panel, he will stop to look at you. So you just need to keep one of the tools up before he enters the office. Oh, and unlike Toy Sonic, he cannot be audio lured, supposedly because he's deaf. Also, Phantom, Tails and Tengu are now active as well, just watch out when moving to the other side of the office and checking that one camera. Night 3 minigame, you control Tails, step on wires, get killed. Night 4. The last toy activates tonight. Toy Yoshi. She likes legs. And only seems to go through vents. But I may be wrong because she may be just too short to be seen in the window. Personally, the funniest design of the 3 toys. Also, Phantom Yoshi is in her arcade cabinet, alongside Luiginet in the hallway. This time we are treated to a cutscene. Since we are Sonic clone trapped in a dark room, after finding a light switch, we seem to be in some kind of storage room for toys and the Golden Sonic. What is he doing here? Now that I do think about that, because Toy Sonic activates, says some weird things before bugging out, attacking Sonic and ending the minigame. Night 5 has nothing new in it, except Silver begging us to take overtime.
The next 2 days you can come back for overtime, but I don't recommend it. If you don't go, I'll have to go. So, actually, please take the overtime. I don't want to deal with the job. I mean, you're really good at it. You might even get a raise. I'm just gonna go. Good luck!
So let's skip to the minigame. You play as Sonic again in the aftermath of the last one. Seems like those wounds Sonic had throughout the game were caused by a fight with Toy Sonic. Walking in the hallway, you actually enter the next room and end the minigame. Hold on, am I forgetting something? I don't think so. And you are given your paycheck addressed to Sonic the Hedgehog. Guess he actually got around investigating the whole establishment after giving it his face. I am just a bit surprised that a real Sonic the Hedgehog got involved in this mess. And of course we get the first star and Night 6 unlocked. On Night 6 a new threat is introduced, that being Golden Sonic. Again. However, he actually has 2 mechanics. He either appears on camera like Toad does, and you need to deal with him the same way as Toad, but this time you die if you fail to deal with him. And he can also appear when lowering the reboot panel, just flip it back up to get rid of him. Do not move to the other side of the office or put the mask on, it won't work. And yeah, those are all threats and gameplay for this game. While I don't think it really addresses the issue of Five Nights at Freddy's 3 having only one real enemy the best way, it still pretty much revolves around keeping Springtrap equivalent as far away from you as possible. I think for a 2015 fan game, it made a solid attempt at trying to refine the gameplay, even if to do so it had to borrow mechanic from other games. I think it is a pretty solid game, but your enjoyment will depend on your liking of base Five Nights at Freddy's 3 and Five Nights at Freddy's 2, so I don't blame anyone for not liking this one that much. I personally do like it, but that is my opinion, not yours. After getting to the end of the night, Golden Sonic kills me, but it puts me into the last minigame. In it, you play as spirits of the clones, walk down the same corridor, and enter the same room as Sonic did last time. In it, Eggman tells Sonic to defend him against the spirits after giving him a knife, but Sonic does a big brain move and cracks the egg. And I'm given a bad ending with real Sonic dead and clone alive. Credits roll. Hold on, since we got a bad ending, how do we get the good one? Well, stepping on the wires as Silver mentioned on night 2 should have been the solution, and I was doing it every time I could. But rewatching the footage, it turned out I forgot to do this on night 5. One night 5 replay, I step on the wires and replay night 6. This time at 7 AM, the place actually catches fire and Clone Sonic sees it as a chance to kill you, but gets crushed by the ceiling, falling on him. One minigame replay later, you get a good ending with Sonic escaping the fire successfully and everything inside building most likely destroyed and dead. This time credits have Sonic running through some fields, and clone Sonic joining the star formation, which I just realized was a Master System Sonic to reference. After finishing the main game, you can visit the extras to see all characters, their jumpscares, or play survival mode, which will appear in more games, but I will just explain the basics here. You pick a difficulty and try to survive for as long as possible. Lastly, there's a custom night. Beating 11-21, yes, 21, not 20 for some reason, we get the final minigame. You play as the Spirit of Eggman, and fly back all the way back to the storage room and possess Golden Sonic, which actually makes sense, especially when I got the secret screen before Night 6, but since this game is happening in 2027, how were previous Golden Sonics active at all? Can Eggman travel through time in this suit or something? Or were Golden Sonics just paranormal in nature? Or did the original soul of Golden Sonic somehow die, making this body a husk for Eggman to take over? But then it makes me wonder, why are other clones not dead, especially Sonic? I'm thinking too hard about a FNaF clone with Sonic and Marionette, aren't I? And this is all for 5 Days at Sonic 3. Overall, I think this... it's not as much of an improvement, but more of a step in the right direction. While on the surface it looks similar to the last 2 entries, the mechanics are beginning to become more original, and while yeah, it's not exactly the pinnacle of creativity, the changes made to FNAF 3 make 5 Nights at Sonic 3 an actually decent game in my eyes. By no means a great game, it is still pretty much a FNAF 3 clone, but with a mask borrowed from the last game, extra timer ticking down to your death, and Golden Sonic which has one original mechanic and one borrowed from one enemy who already existed. But overall, it's still better than the last 2 entries. And as far as I can tell, just those small additions made it more popular than the last 2 entries, since it was actually trying to do something with the FNAF formula, which can only mean one thing. It was time for game number 4. Five Nights at Sonic's 4, released on 7th of November 2015. Can you guess which FNAF game... Okay, I will stop with it. Yeah, it copies Five Nights at Freddy's 4 again, but once again tries to put a twist to it. And I'm going to be honest, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is not my favorite FNAF game, sue me. So I was wondering if this game was going to do something to fix the issues that I had with it. And unfortunately, I just want to get this out of the way. No, not really. And compared to the last one, I think it is quite a downgrade gameplay-wise. But to explain myself, I need to start the game. But before I shred this game, maybe let's talk about the menu for a minute, because this one is a step up compared to the last 3. The first and second game had a very similar and pretty boring title screens. Third one was kinda alright, but this one is just great. With the shadows of clones in the foreground with their eyes and teeth visible, with a restaurant in the background. Oh, right, spoilers for the location, I guess. And I also really like the font used here. I don't think I can rationally explain why I like it, but I think it goes with the game very well. So starting a new game, we get a FNAF 2 style cutscene, where I think as a clone Sonic, we find corpses of our companions. With a promise to put them back together, because we don't have enough of these. Also, is this Sandwich Sonic? How is he alive after the ending of Five Nights at Sonic 3? Dude is resilient as all hell. Oh great, a wall of text on the first night. Don't worry, I will explain it in a minute. At the start of the night, instead of a phone guy calling us, Sonic takes up that role to give us an anonymous message.
Hello. Glad you could come back after all these years. It's like deja vu. Well, you thought you were clever trying to hide here, but we've tracked you down with the help of our golden friend. Let's cut to the chase, shall we? You're back here trying to hide from us. You're back doing the same job in the same exact place. You may think you'll escape again, but I'll have you know, we're doing things a little different this time. Sure, you can try to hide, but we'll find you. There's no doubt about that. All you have is a flashlight, like that'll help. We've grown accustomed to you and your other guard strategies over the years, and it's our time for revenge. You may think you're gonna win, but you know what I say? Gotta go fast.
Alright, so as you can see, the office is the one and only Five Nights at Sonic's 1 office, but destroyed and dilapidated. The poster is torn, fan is knocked over, there are cracks in the wall, and door buttons are destroyed, leaving only lights active. I think this doesn't look half that bad, though I feel like it could use maybe a little bit more distraction to emphasize the time passing and abandoned pizzeria vibe. Also, I think they forgot to add windows to the doors. Like, why are they gone? So it's time to explain gameplay, which is basically FNaF 4, but a bit different. You can click on doors to run up to them and listen for breathing. If there isn't any, shine the light to check if someone is in the hallway, or to push them back if they are in the far back of it. If there is breathing, instead of closing the door like in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, you need to run back to the office and hide under the table by clicking on it and wait for the threats to pass by. Tonight's threats are Nightmare Mario, Yoshi and Tails, and sure enough, they look like the spooky scary versions of themselves. Spikes, teeth, darker colors, Yoshi has a knife with "let's kill" on her bib. That is actually kind of funny. Mario comes from the left and Yoshi from the right. Tails, however, does not reside in the hallway, instead being behind you. Flicking your mouse down, we can look behind us to see that the Pirate's Cove was moved here. Apparently Tails did that. Don't ask me why. You shine your flashlight at him to move him back, and that's about it. Just pretend he's Nightmare Freddy without the Freddles. That's Nightmare Tails. Honestly, I don't think I died a single time to him. And yeah, that would be the basic gameplay loop. Look at the hallways, listen for movement, flash the fox, hide under the table, rinse and repeat. It's FNaF 4, but this time we have no doors to actually close. And this is all I have for night 1. After finishing it, we get a cutscene where Sonic finds coloring machines and, as he says, gets to work. On night 2, Nightmare Sonic is introduced. Sonic will first peek at the end of the hallway, and later on immediately come to the doors as he doesn't have a middle face like Mario and Yoshi have, and then charge through your office, so hide before he gets you. Not too hard or easy to deal with. And this would be all for the night, if some issues with the game didn't start creeping in. Sometimes, I admit, that I died to my own stupidity. But quite often, I died to this weird glitch, which I think is better shown than explained. So you check your door and hear breathing, and hide under the desk right after that, as you should. But the enemy doesn't walk by, and after a while you get kicked out and die. I'm not sure if this is some kind of gameplay mechanic to prevent camping or a glitch, but this caused quite a number of my deaths. Another issue I noticed, and that annoys me to no end, is that I do not think this game has directional audio. Okay, I may be completely wrong, but while playing I only heard one sound cue, and whenever it played, whenever someone moved, I heard it in both of my headphones. Which, as someone who expected directional audio in Five Nights at Freddy's 4 fan game, was a little confusing, especially since official wiki had nothing to say about that. So I did the only thing I could think of: downloading a sound radar. Sound radar is a type of software that is supposed to help deaf people in visualizing where the sound is coming from. Mainly gamers, and it is apparently pretty popular in Counter-Strike 2. And while I don't play it at all, I could check that it indeed has directional audio. So I get the software, set it up, boot into the game, and wait for someone to walk by. And as it turns out, the audio is indeed mono. Which means that any strategy this game could have is gone. You just go from door to door, check if someone is there, and listen for breathing. Like, we were so close to having an actually okay game. Why did Switchup had to trip on this one step that would make this game actually kind of better? Because other than that, it really is just running from door to door and listening for breathing. And then hiding. Oh, and did I forget to mention that breathing sometimes plays on delay and can kill you? It wasn't as big of an issue as yeah had it, but man did it suck when it happened. Oh, and I got stuck on this night for like 2 hours because of bugs. Yeah, let's just move on. In the next cutscene, Sonic finds toy parts, and while coloring machines are repairing his friends, he gets to work on his personal project. The personal project being introduced on night 3 as Toy Mare. This guy made from toy animatronic parts Sonic mentioned, and I think he looks pretty cool. He's not overly edgy, and in my personal opinion, a good design. He, or I guess they, climb through the vent above you. You can monitor their progress with a conveniently placed camera on your desk. Whenever they leave the camera, you need to look up and close the hatch. Alright, you can look up to see the vent. I forgot to mention that this mechanic existed before because it wasn't used. I feel like if this game was better, he would be a way bigger threat, but here? I'd say he's a minor annoyance at best. He moves extremely slowly. I am attacked maybe 2 times a night. And for such a cool design, I am so mad that the best we get to see of him is his head. He just feels wasted to me, like, he could be gone, and I don't think the game would be better for it because the main gameplay loop is already extremely boring. And for base knights, this is everyone. I think you can tell that compared to the third game, this one has less sauce in it. I'm not sure if it's just my personal opinion you would disagree with, but the game is just not that enjoyable to play. The gameplay loop is fairly simple, just running between the hallways and listening for breathing before dealing with either Tails or Timer. By night 3 I was bored and tired of playing the game after the awful night 2, which may have been the contributing factor to my dislike, but the fact that those bugs happened frequently in the first place tells me that less polish was put into the game. Next cutscene shows some kind of card in Sonic's hand, saying he has a team, so I assume the Reimagined and Timer are already done. Apparently he needs to find where someone is at, before a golden text box shows up, saying he can help. Night 4 is just harder than Night 3, and since no one else is getting introduced, I'm going to talk about the art for a minute. While I think it has improved, I'm not really sure how could you make it look better without changing the software. Like, okay, I did say the art style is iconic part of these games, but let's be honest for a minute. Because in reality, these are just badly drawn images in MS Paint. Like in other games, at least you could appreciate how rooms from the original games got remade in Paint, but here, there really isn't that much outside of the office and hallways. And sure, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 also didn't have many places to recreate, but still, it all just looks kind of mediocre. It doesn't look as bad as some very low quality Scratch Fan games, but it is still a far cry from the style the later games achieve. So Night 4 cutscene has Sonic talking out with Golden Sonic, who looks very melted? He looks closer to melted cheese than Sonic at this point. After a bit of talk, Golden stabs Sonic as revenge for killing him. Don't forget that Eggman still possesses the Golden Sonic. And as such, Sonic is dead. Dead the clone, not the real one. On Night 5, everyone gets disabled as we have to deal with the one and only enemy, Nightmare Golden Sonic. I think the idea is meant to make him a Nightmare Fredbear equivalent, but my god does he fall flat on his face. He appears in either end of the hallway, and when you hear breathing, you need to quickly hide under the table. You would think this would be Nightmare Fredbear difficult, but in reality, this is the easiest night in the whole game. I am not even joking. Oh, and to make this funnier, Toymer and Nightmare Tails are disabled. And Golden Sonic for some reason doesn't attack from those positions, meaning that the best strategy is to simply run between the hallways, wait to see him appear in one, wait for him to breathe, and then hide. I think this was supposed to be a big epic finale, but my god is it underwhelming for the final night. After this, we get a bit of dialogue between Nightmare clones that realize we escaped the office and question their existence for once since their only goal is gone. However, Sonic finds something we dropped in a hurry. That's right everybody, we played as Luigi this entire time. How? That's a good question. I thought he went missing or was dead after the events of the first game. But I guess in the end he was alive this entire time. I don't think this was ever explained in lore for why Luigi was here or why he was gone outside of getting caught by a clone Sonic on Night 4 of Five Nights at Sonic's 1, but since Savage Sonic apparently survived the end of Five Nights at Sonic's 3, Luigi can be alive as well. Right after that, you get shown a newspaper reporting Luigi's reappearance after escaping evil clones. The clones are apparently disposed of, which sounds surprisingly morbid if you ask me. Like yeah, they tried to kill me, but they were breathing intelligent creatures, so it just makes it sound worse, okay? And we get access to Night 6 and Custom Night after that. But I personally only bothered with Night 6 because I really don't feel like doing the Custom Night for this game, and there is no additional story to be found after Night 5, so less reason for me to play it. There are also extras with some interesting details on characters, like the revelation for many that Yoshi is a female. But yeah, that is all. Well, okay, most of Five Nights at Sonic's 4. Pretty underwhelming entry if you ask me. On paper, the gameplay sounds like it would work pretty well, but the amount of small, little, annoying things in this pile up really quickly. I mean, I didn't expect this game to reinvent the wheel, but I at least hoped for it to be on par with the game it's basing itself off. Which it isn't. Don't think it's worse than the first and second game, but definitely not as good as the third one. Community reception also wasn't that great as far as I can tell, but personally, the more interesting information was that there were plans for a DLC to be made featuring Toy Nightmare animatronics, but got cancelled for unknown reasons, and then every year after that there would be an attempt to reboot it. For real, there were at least 3 official attempts to reboot that and they still couldn't finish it a single time. However, because of that poor reception, it was decided that the 5th game will have to be better than the last 4 games. And just like Scott Cawthon, Switchup decided to change the direction for the series, though the 5th game was finished. Well, I mean, this sure is a different direction for the series. Five Nights at Sonic's World was created by the Switchup and Babsy and was released somewhere in May of 2016. All you need to know about Babsy is that she was exposed for a lolicon fetish and unfortunately helped create two of these Five Nights at Sonic spin-offs, and from what I can find, the most well-known creations of hers are Ultimate Nintendo Night 1 and 2, alongside Five Nights at Powerpuff Girls. And so now we are entering the era of spin-offs that are now not canon. Yes, the series was big enough to allow spin-offs to be created, and the first one just so happens to be based on FNaF World. Five Nights at Sonic's World had at least 4 known updates, and the original version I will be covering, as I said before, was released somewhere in the May of 2016. I cannot tell you the exact date because there is next to no information about this game and its updates online. I use Taste's videos as a rough timeline for when these games were released because, again, no one cares about Five Nights at Sonic's World enough to document it properly. Also, every single version of the game was taken from this Game Joy archive, so thanks FNaF for 139 for that. Anyway, let's begin. I think I am the first person, possibly ever, who played through this version, because I cannot find anyone who has done it. Everyone I watched played Five Nights at Sonic's World on YouTube either switched versions mid-playing, or straight up played the next one first. Outside of that interesting fact, the title screen plays Undertale title screen music. Actually, this whole menu looks like an Undertale ripoff rather than FNaF World ripoff. Weird, but I guess Undertale did release a year earlier and was a big hit, so maybe that's why. Starting a new game, you are apparently a newborn clone Sonic and are given the privilege of naming him. Alright, let's go to Sonic character name generator and... sure, Stripes the Sonic clone it is. You are then told some information about the game and controls and get plunged into oh my god. Reimagined? Are you... okay? Yeah, this is the first time I have to say it, this art style blows. Not sure how fast this game was developed, nor if Switchup had any involvement with it other than supervising, but it sure had to be made fast because everything here looks like taking Five Nights at Sonic's one level of graphics and knocking it down even lower. I am quite positive this is all made by Babsy, and all I can say is that unlike Five Nights at Sonic's, which looked like bad drawings that look kind of charming, this looks more like scribbles than art direction. Okay, so Reimagined tells you that Tails, Mario and Yoshi had been captured by Golden Sonic and that we need to save them. Okay, I guess it's an excuse for game. After loading screen, we have the first look at the overworld, which is also pretty cheap. Again, the art direction was, dare I say it, pretty good up to this point. What happened here? Controls are also pretty scuffed as you can only walk in one of 4 directions and can't do diagonals, kinda like RPG Maker games. And, of course, you use arrow keys to move around, which, while a little uncomfortable on like a laptop, aren't that big of a problem for me, especially for this type of game. I'm simply used to this. Nearby you can find a toad who sells you helpers. These are essentially bites of the game. Goombas are bees, ghosts are reapers, gifts are medbots, and that's all. Literally only 3 bites. I'm not even kidding, that's not even half of what FNaF World offered. Walking around, I soon ran into my first encounter. And it sure is a combat encounter. Unlike the FNaF World, where you have 4 characters available at one time, here you only have your clone Sonic. Right now you have only one move, that is a micro, and as you level up you unlock more moves like Healing, Pizza Wheels, Cosmic Song, but they can only be used a limited amount of times. After you attack, you wait for the enemy to attack, and you do that until the health bar reaches 0 and you win. This is a very simple battle system, I really have nothing else to say about it. It's painfully simple, even if it's very broken. Going back to Overworld, I reach a maze. It's not really a maze, you just need to walk through gaps big enough for Sonic to fit through, and who is that? Some kind of Sonic ghost? I decided at first not to fight him because he looked like a boss, but after one more encounter I got a healing power and decided to tackle him. His name was Shadnik, which is a hilarious name, and he dealt out of damage to me, but with my healing power, I managed to beat him, unlocking the second area. Or not, because this tree is blocking the way. Alright, so exploring further, I found a button and further down, Toy Sonic, unlocking my first character. Characters here are more like chips in FNaF World, adding some passive bonuses. Toy Sonic, for example, gives you an extra life. I went back to Toad to buy all the Goombas and went to beat Shadnik again in record time. And then I had to go back to the button to unlock the way again because teleporting reset it, but whatever, I could proceed onward. What 2 is ice themed, and Reimagined tells us that we need to beat an angry deer to progress, and that Golden Sonic's corruption is breaking the world, allowing glitches to exist. This area was a little tougher, and in a nearby mine I found a Toadette. She grants me the ability to use balloons as an attack, which are not that bad to be honest, but more importantly, she passively drains enemy HP after I attack, meaning that I can essentially do damage all the time. With her in the team, I blasted that deer out of existence. After pressing the button, the third area opened up, this time being Hell. Reimagined tells me to look around for keys to unlock different areas of the world. I did see a yellow key back there, but it seemed to be locked off behind some rocks. Walking further, I ran into Mega Flamer, and after beating him, I am once again blocked from progression. Okay, I know where the key is, but I have no idea how to actually get it. So I checked the taste video, and as it turns out, to get the yellow key, you need to walk through rocks that seemed impossible. I know this is a FNaF world fan game, but I still don't really like walking through solid walls. This is a bad game design and there's no defending it. Getting the key, I backtrack to World 3 and enter a previously locked cave. In it, I find the Greek key and another Sonic ghost. This one is a character though. Apparently he's meant to summon ghosts, but I never saw him do that, so I think he may be broken. After beating the Flamer again, I get to Lake World. Reimagined tells me to swim through this area as apparently we can swim. I thought Sonic is like, you know, not a fan of water, but I like to think that the water here is just very shallow. Toad here also has a map of the entire world and... wow, this looks depressing. Like, why is there so much empty space in the middle? Wouldn't it be better to keep me blissfully unaware of how small this game actually is? All enemies here are references to SpongeBob, and the boss here is Patrick. I thought he would be easy, but he took 900 HP Sonic back to 1 in one hit, so I had to grind a bit. Definitely not edited game files. So I bet him. Also there was a red key just lying there. No secret walls or being hidden, it's just there. Area 5 is based on the Labyrinth Zone. Here I find this Green Mario, he's one of the Five Nights at Sonic's game testers, and he raises my attack. Next boss is this Egg Robo, and oh my god did I want to give up here. The amount of damage he deals to you is absurd, and once again one-shotting me and making it near impossible to win. So, with enough willpower to grind, and throwing my dignity away by editing the save file, I managed to beat him. The fifth area is the Scrap Brain Zone. In the corner I find Temmie from Undertale. Temmie occasionally uses the fourth wall, dealing a bunch of damage. Going up I find another wall, walk through that and get a purple key. With it I get access to... the Purple Maze. This is the Pinwheel Funhouse's disfigured brother. You go through tents and walls and pray it moves you further. Early on you can get the last character, this great Tails, who sometimes uses Cosmic Song. Better than the actual ability because the ability uses a random amount of comets, and Tails at least doesn't have to wait before he attacks again. After getting through that small hell, I get thrown into a very long hallway. I mean it is quite long. Midway through it, there is a sign saying that he is ahead, and sure enough, at the end of it, I find Golden Sonic. At first, he one-shotted my 6000 HP Sonic and 100, so a little bit later, I beat him with the power of Grey Tails and Temmie. After defeat, Golden Sonic fades away, and Sonic and his friends are transported back to the forest. All of them thank you for freeing them, and then this My Little Pony on the side says that we are getting deported? What? And this all will be continued in Five Nights at Sonic's Tale. More on that in a minute. And also, what is that pony doing here? So originally here there was a section where I would speculate what this character was, coming to a very stupid conclusion. As it turns out, this is supposed to be Freda Listiber? A character from another one of Babsicot's older franchises, One Week with Ponies. Yes, this is apparently a My Little Pony fan game. Made by Babsicot, and as someone who is not experienced with My Little Pony at all, I am not sure if I even want to touch it. Yeah, I guess there's a reason this isn't canon anymore. But I also get notified there are other endings. I managed to find one of them. Going to the right after entering the hallway reveals a secret hallway where at the end you fight... Omega Iron Mario? So as Sonic, you need to evade two attacks, beams that cover the screen and rings thrown at you. This fight is very RNG heavy as you either get lucky and the lasers shoot away from you, or Avutrate box you. You also need to do this in one hit, but that is honestly the easiest part. He doesn't take that many hits to kill anyway. So after beating him, we get called out for killing the game's creator and get booted out. The title screen also changed, now featuring the rest of the cast and that weird pony. Oh, and Diane is here too. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I couldn't find any more endings, and since no one else cares about this game, I have no idea how to get the other endings. Hey, so because this video was so long in development, it turns out that there is someone who cares about Five Nights at Sonic's world. That person is Rainer Moonlight, who is a bit of an enthusiast in Lost FNaF World fan games, which as it turns out includes quite a lot of Team Cyanotics games, which are once again unfortunately made by Babzikut. I am not going to cover any of them though, because this video is already getting long enough, and if you can see the runtime, I am not even at the first hour. However, after contacting him, I got some pretty interesting information about Five Nights at Sonic's world. The most important one being the fact that there is another ending in the first version of Five Nights at Sonic's world, goddamn! And to get it, you need to do what is essentially considered a genocide route of this game. Don't forget, this game came out around the Undertale hype, so it is no surprise that it features some kind of genocide route. How do we get it? Well, we need to do something that I really should have considered now that I think about it. Remember how in FNaF World there is this glitched Fredbear that you can only talk to if you wait after the normal Fredbear finishes his dialogue? Well, as it turns out, if you wait after Legion finishes his dialogue, your clone Sonic becomes emo and starts talking some really weird shit. Like, I am sorry, but I do not have better descriptor for this. This is some 2015 edgy Tara shit. By what 2 Sonic tasks you with finding pieces of orange key. And now I have just realized that I forgot to mention that there is an orange gate near the Shannik boss fight. Normal playthrough it just haunts you because, well, the key only appears if you do this genocide route thing. 2 pieces can be found in 2 caves of this game, and the last one is found in the forest for some reason. Before that, however, Sonic has 2 more talks with Reimagined, and after the one in the World 3, he sets his eyes on killing the developer of the game. I think you can imagine who that is. And after talking in the Lake World, the last piece of the key spawns, and I didn't get it until much later because I thought it was hidden somewhere else, but whatever. Here it is, and after obtaining it, Sonic achieves peak evil. Surprisingly, not only his overworld sprite changes, but the one during battles as well, looking more like Salvage Sonic, though I guess there are some artistic liberties taken because he doesn't really look like Salvage Sonic. After that, Golden Sonic disappears alongside Diane, meaning that you cannot get the other 2 endings and you are locked into doing the genocide ending. Oh, and main menu also changes and now Sonic is just gone. And since the orange gate is now gone, we can go face the one and only Starlight Scrublord, which is Babzikut's older username. And I'll be honest, I didn't even really bother fighting her legit. I just took every single bite that had insta-Q on it, which are the ghosts from the second world, and just hoped she would die before I do. And after like 2 tries, I beat her and get the most unsatisfying ending yet. Seriously, this is all. I didn't even edit this. It just goes from the fight to this black screen with no text or anything. I kinda hoped for some more edgy Sonic dialogue, but at the same time the game is now soft lock unless you edit the save file. And to be honest, I think I prefer to leave it this way. Alright, that's everything from me, time to leave this radioactive substance alone. And that was the first version of the game. And wow, this was awful. The gameplay was manageable? Yeah, that's the best way I can describe it. It was playable and wasn't a straight copy of FNaF World, but I think that was the worst RPG I have ever played. Graphics actually suck here, and gameplay, while simple as all hell, is also very unfair. Exploration is boring as well, and the grind is painful if you aren't cheating your way through the game, because I could not stand the slow speed I was gaining levels at, and the damage bosses were dealing. It is just a bad game all around, and as you can guess, I do not recommend playing this one. Please leave it alone before you get radioactive poisoning. However, let me remind you, there are 5 different versions of this game and I just played the first one. I am going to go insane by the time I'm done, aren't I? What? You thought the next update would be update 2? I actually did too. Update 2 is apparently some kind of lost media with only, and I mean only sign it ever existed, being a video made by the next genius who got early access to it, which seemed to have upgraded graphics of update 3 with plans to add more playable characters. But for whatever reason, it either never released or was updated to 3.0 so fast that no one had a chance to download it. I believe it just never released, but lost media is lost media. Alright, off we go to update 3. It seems that the main point of this update was to change this game to be more like FNaF World. Title screen actually looks like poor man's version of FNaF World now. And starting the new game, the single Sonic is gone as you actually have some party members to pick from. The menu to pick them is pretty annoying though, as you need to first select the frame before you select the characters, and whenever you leave and enter the game again, you need to set everything back again. I think you can guess that this was annoying. You get new characters by getting into random encounters while fighting in the overworld. Helpers haven't changed at all. Special characters are hidden in different locations around the world, but still serve the same purpose. Overworld still keeps the same themes, but layouts have changed. Bosses haven't changed much, still doing way too much damage, but with healing moves worth them, high damage moves, they are manageable. Just a tip, don't rely on Cosmic Song. It's better to use balloons. Unless you are epileptic. Then maybe don't use balloons. And while at it, instead of a puppet, now this Cyan Sonic is talking to you. This is Ian, and he really doesn't want you to fight Golden Sonic for some reason. He also appears when starting a new game to explain you FNaF world mechanics. So, one Five Nights at Sonic's world later, I do it anyway. And after beating him, a scene shows up where apparently our clone Sonic is trying to get into Five Nights at Sonic's development Discord, but they don't want to let him in, so we end up fighting this amalgamation. What is even happening anymore? After beating them, I guess the whole server explodes and the game ends. What the hell was the point of that? However, if you do as Ian says and find a secret wall, you get access to a Halloween-themed area. That's right, this update features some of the content from Update 2.0 from FNaF World. Here you can play 3 minigames: Blossom in Space, Tails.exe, and Green Mario Fighters. Blossom in Space is FNaF 57 clone, but easier and way more junky. Blossom has preset jump height and often gets stuck on the floor, which can either let you skip sections or get stuck somewhere you shouldn't be. To upgrade the blaster you collect cakes, and after getting jump power, you go and kill Tammy in a chamber. You get a new character if you get all upgrades or none. And if you wonder how Blossom from Powerpuff Girls and her sisters got here, this update was a bit of a collaboration between Five Nights at Sonic's and Five Nights at Powerpuff Girls. And I don't know, it doesn't really feel that much like a collab, more like an advertisement if you ask me. Maybe I will talk about these games someday, but for now, let's go back to the minigames. Tails.exe is Foxy.exe. You walk to the right while Tails says some weird things to you and you avoid Nightmare Sonics. Green Mario Fighters is an easier version of Foxy Fighters. Here you fly through the sky and defeat some enemies. At the end you kill a giant egg roll and based on your remaining health, you get different drugs and characters. And as far as I can tell, that's all there is to this update. I couldn't find any other endings, and to be honest, I don't even have a clue where to start looking for more endings. So instead of that, I'm going to move to the next update, the supposedly best one, Update 4. Update 4 is more of an expansion to Update 3. This version, however, crashed on me constantly for no explainable reason. The rest of versions did crash too, but those were pretty few and far between, so I could forgive them. But here I just kept crashing over and over and over again. And since I didn't find any way to fix it, no large others hours surprisingly didn't help here, sometimes during the game I would just crash and lose some progress. Very cool. Alright, so outside of the glitches, what was exactly added? Well, new bosses for one, all of them are damage sponges dealing absurd damage to you. New characters unlocked by either beating the set of bosses or completing minigames in new ways. In Tails.exe you just walk to the left to unlock a new area and character. And in Fighters you need to collect these black orbs and no one gets added in Blossom in Space. After looking a bit for a way to get into this portal, I find an entryway through this bush. Walking further, I found that there is another room with a secret boss fight in it. Here you fight Granddad before he gets punked by Ian. After winning, he tells us some cryptic things before this Sonic shows up and telling us that there is more to this world. And not knowing what the hell did he mean by that, I look at the taste video for tips, and as it turns out, there is one final world for me to go through. And you get to it by clicking underneath the Halloween world jump icon to enter the minus world. That's actually something pretty clever, and I'm going to count this as the only positive of Five Nights at Sonic's world. Here Blossom tasks you with defeating an evil program. After fighting every single boss in the game, you face against this. Defeating it, you appear back in Sonic's Pizza Palace as Knuckles, walk up to the pipe and say that things must be done. Once again teasing that all will be finished in Five Nights at Sonic's Tale. I will get to it soon, I promise. There is also the true final boss below it. Walking yet another corridor, we reach a battle against Five Nights at Sonic's developers, but not as amalgamation that I swear to god is straight up unfair because of this balloon attack. Seriously, it deals so much damage. I decided to cheat yet again, and even getting 100 free levels didn't help much since there's a HP cap of 50,000. Yes, this is max HP you get in this game. You could dream of those numbers in FNAF World. And it still doesn't mean anything because those balloons can just delete my health and extra life in one go. But after getting lucky and defeating them, I get shown this. Yeah, I have no clue what it could refer to. Please someone explain this to me. I really have no clue what the hell have I looked at. And this is all for update 4 as far as I'm aware. It does add a bit to update 3, but it isn't that much, and all of it is pretty much just some pretty unfair boss fights and endings that don't make much sense. And it's very buggy. Don't play it, please. Okay, finally, the last version. Let's go. The most important addition to this update are the upgraded overworld graphics, now more closely resembling the first version of FNAF World, which is honestly a blessing that I didn't expect. Not characters though, they still look pretty bad. And thanks to that, all areas have actual names now. Very cool. Alright, so what got added was this portal in Mania's world. Entering it, we get treated to a recreation of the flip side. Finding this rectangle, we reach a new area, 8 Rocky Road. Ian comes to welcome me, saying that this area has the most dangerous enemies yet, and to defend against them, I need some strong characters that can only be found on the flip side. To find them, you just need to hit every wall and pick up those yellow orbs. Those guys have new moves that deal a lot of damage and heal way better than anything we had up to this point. Actually, let me talk about characters for a bit, because goddamn there are so few characters that I can say are useful. A lot of them have very weak damaging moves, or just like any good moves. This was an issue in FNAF World 2, but here it just felt a little bit worse with how few characters there are. After walking for a while, I found Freddy from FNAF World. Yeah, it is him. He challenges me into a battle to see which horror franchise should stay. His boss fight seemed unfair, deleting my HP bar at first, but in this area there's also a toad with the Last Helper, a star that gives you 150,000 HP. Fighting Freddy still isn't easy though, as you are on time limit like the Rainbow, but with the right party composition, you can beat him. But of course, that wasn't the real Freddy, and you get jump scared then kicked from the game. Coming back, Freddy does this Kara from Undertale impression and offers me something. I didn't pay attention to what he was saying, as it was 1 AM and I didn't want to play another Five Nights at Sonic's World game ever again. So I get jump scared again, and now I am not able to open the game again. You know what, I think this is a sign from God to stop playing these games. And so finally, this is all for Five Nights at Sonic's World. So, what even are my final thoughts on this game and its updates? Okay, so the first one seemed to go for something original, even if it was terrible, but with subsequent updates, it just became a pretty bad FNAF World clone. Balancing is non-existent, graphics are pretty bad too, and outside of pure curiosity, I do not recommend playing these games. And if you insist on doing that, play the 5th one and don't touch anything else. But also watch out, because people apparently like putting viruses into these games for some reason, so I recommend just checking out the archive and downloading them from there. I really have nothing else to say. I generally didn't enjoy my time with these games and just really want to move on. Let's talk about something more traditional. Five Nights at Sonic's Tale was developed mainly by the Switchup and was supposed to be an epilogue to Five Nights at Sonic's first story. That's right, I have one more spin-off to talk about before we get back to the classic Five Nights at Freddy's formula, and it just so happens to be Five Nights at Sonic's Tale Demo. Yeah, this game that was so hyped up by Five Nights at Sonic's World never released. Apparently during development, Switchup lost files for the game, and instead of trying to reboot the game, he decided to make another game to finish the story. More on that later. And all we have left is a demo version that was released on... I'm actually not sure, but I think it was something around July of 2016. Okay, since this is all we have left, let's see what is in it. We start with a tutorial with Sonic to guide us on mechanics of Undertale for those unfamiliar with them. Unfortunately, midway through his speech he said to press C and it just so happens to skip the tutorial. Oops. Thank God I already played Undertale before. We get brought to an Undertale-style story setup that straight up spoils the lore of the next game, so I'm going to avoid that part and move over to Five Nights at Sonic's 1. So, place gets opened, Eggman sabotages the clones, a bit of retcon because there's notion of that clones were fine for years into the third location opened with Salvage Sonic. Real Sonic goes to investigate, place burns down, Eggman and other clones' bodies are found in the storage facility. And as it turns out, Sonic clone did not attack Eggman beforehand because of previous tampering with making clones see Eggman as a good guy until Ghost of Clones appeared, and I guess Sonic somehow broke his programming and realized who was the real bad guy all along. A month later, Sonic clone created nightmare bodies for his friends, and after a while found out that Luigi was hiding in a building with them, and so clones get revived. We still don't have explanation why he was there, but Sonic and his friends try to kill Luigi so that he can snitch on their existence. Along the way, Sonic clone passes away from his injuries, sure, that is one way to say that he got stabbed, and gets revived too. Luigi escapes the place and informs authorities about clones. So clones do something actually smart for once and revert back to their original bodies to blend in with the crowd. But they are quickly rediscovered and through a special pipe they are sent to a faraway land with the entrance closed off. And of course, you go there for some reason. The title screen is pretty simple, nothing to really write home about if you ask me. Starting a new game, you name your knuckles and appear next to the pipe. By the way, you can enter it to get a secret ending. Walking forward, we find a sign saying that we are on the Emerald Island, and further down we run into Golden Sonic. He is basically Flowey the Flower equivalent that tries to kill you, but instead of Torio coming to save you, your Red Chaos Emerald heals you, which we apparently just have on hand. This makes Golden interested in you as the remaining 6 emeralds are on these islands and finding them would help him escape from this place, so he leaves you be. And from this point on, Five Nights at Sonic's Tale becomes a pretty competent 2016 Undertale fan game. Yeah, I'm going to be straight here, I really enjoyed my time here, especially after Five Nights at Sonic's World. Battles are the same as in the original Undertale, you know, fighting, acting, sparing, that stuff, but enemies are replaced with Koopas, Batubugs and Goombas. All of them look pretty good, and the art style is definitely a step up from Five Nights at Sonic's World. The overworld sprite for Knuckles looks a bit weird, but you get used to it pretty quickly. Motobugs and Goombas are easy enough to deal with, but I have no clue how to deal with Koopa. I'm not joking, I tried seemingly every option and never got him to become sparable. Their attacks are also pretty easy to dodge because a lot of them appear in random spots in the battle box instead of near you and don't even really try to aim at you. Items can be found inside question mark blocks and they are mostly healing items. There is no shop as far as I'm aware. Going along the path, you'll find these signs with messages from a grassy green caretaker, mentioning that we need to go south to find her and solve a few puzzles along the way. Puzzles were alright, this one was a guessing game, but the solution was laid out on the floor, making it a bit useless. Going south, we get to this hut, and of course, who else could be a green caretaker but Yoshi? She does recognize Knuckles as a night guard from the first game and wonders why we came here, but is happy that we came here. After exploring her house for a bit, we follow her further down the island, and she gets occupied by a few motobugs. Not too long after she returns to us saying that she will help us with few puzzles and leaves us alone. That doesn't seem very helpful, Yoshi. Few puzzle rooms later, we catch up with Yoshi. Yoshi wonders if it would be better for you to stay here rather than go further and decides to fight in order to test you. Instead of a red heart, this fight uses a new green sword that has a shield on top of it to reflect projectiles. Oh wow, Undertale Leo must have stolen that concept for the Axis fight. Joking, but it was a pretty simple fight. Spare her enough times, dodge rather easy attacks, and she lets you go peacefully. But it also asks if she could join you, which I guess would have some impact on gameplay in the full version. Going further, Golden Sonic pesters you for sparing her rather than killing her and leaves you alone, ending the demo. And Sonic shows up with Mario to joke that this is the end of the demo. Yeah, we get it, guys. I did try to go for a genocide, but because of low encounter rate, I accidentally did an outro run. After killing Yoshi, Golden Sonic laughs at me for killing her after spraying her last time, which fair enough, thanks for remembering my genocides, Golden Sonic. So anyway, I tried doing genocide one more time, and this time actually killing every minor enemy before reaching Yoshi. And while waiting for enemies to attack me, I found a new weapon, and a paper saying that apparently clones cannot be revived twice. And the ones on the island have already died once in the past, so it is up to us to make sure they stay dead. After a bit more murder, I get jump scared by Nobody Came scream. From this point on, Knuckles has this shade over his head signifying evil. All signs are now pointless and save blocks change to say speeding along. Reaching Yoshi, the conversation goes almost the same, but apparently Knuckles is silent. You don't run into critters because, well, we killed them, and Yoshi goes to look for them. The rest of the level stays the same until you reach Yoshi. Hitting Yoshi once, she realizes we are the ones who killed everyone else on the island and needs to stop us before we go onward. We beat her because the fight doesn't become any bit harder, she says her final words and dies. Golden Sonic this time congratulates us for killing her and making his world domination plans come together, and that we are part of it now.
It's the perfect plan.
The end of demo screen is also different, with this text showing up and an evil theme playing. And this is all I have for Five Nights at Sonic's Tale. Overall, in my opinion, it was a rather solid Undertale fan game for the time. Sure, it could have used a bit of polishing up, but if this game was to become a full entry in the 2016, I feel like it could have become one of the better Undertale fan games at the time. This is also the only side game I truly wish was revived, especially since there is a paste bin that contains quite a lot of information about the game, which I won't read here, but it does provide pretty much everything necessary for making it from scratch. Anyone up for remaking it? Well, there actually were plans for an official remake of it called Tales from Emerald Island, but life had different plans and it was cancelled. Oh well, no use crying over the spilled milk, it is time to move to the next game, which this time is actually going to be the next big proper Five Nights at Sonic's game. Five Nights at Sonic's 5 released on 7th of November 2016. As you can tell, the game took a good while to release. We went from a series that released every few months to almost a year of waiting for the next entry. Now, this wasn't meant to be the only game in 2016, because there was going to be a Five Nights at Sonic's sister location game, but that got cancelled because it was too hard for FNaF fan game developers at the time to make FNaF sister location fan games. And to be fair, that is still true to this day. Also from the trailer, it looks not interesting at all and more like another developer joke game like Five Nights at Sonic's World was. The game also had a demo and beta releases, but from videos I found it doesn't seem that much different from the main game in any way, so to save on time, I will skip those and just jump to the full deal. And let me start off the bat by saying that many consider this to be the best Five Nights at Sonic's game. After all, it is the most original one, since it wasn't a straight-up copy of another FNaF game, and was mostly an original creation. Now, was it any good? Was the wait worth it? Let's check it out. Starting the game, the title screen looks fine. It is a pretty basic menu compared to the first title screen, and it is just a bit lame to go back to something closer to Five Nights at Sonic's 1, 2 and 3 title screen. Yeah, whatever, most of you don't care about that. Let's just start the new game. The game begins immediately with a cutscene. I think that the yellow outline suggests we are Golden Sonic, and the calendar does say it's 2015, so it has to be related to the first game. Shortly after, a Shadow Sonic appears, saying, those incomprehensible beings saying to not be afraid. Like, sir, this is the scariest moment of my entire life. After that, he says for to go, and the night begins. The office we appear in looks alright. It is clearly inspired by FNaF 2 with the long hallway, but at least it uses doors instead of vents on the side, and it does look better than Five Nights at Sonic's 2 office. Also, we can play with Lightbulb, 10 out of 10. We get call from Tails, who welcomes us to Sonic's fast food diner. He tells us a bit about our night guard position and our only threat tonight, Golden Sonic clone. Yes, this is a prequel game, and Golden Sonic is not sitting on the floor or is possessed by Eggman. This is the original clone Sonic. He came out like this due to an error in the cloning process while it was being done on Sonic. Because of that error, his colors are not right, his personality is also not right, and he is aggressive after hours, and he may mistake us for a thief and try to attack us. But he's also photosensitive, meaning he hates light, which is our main form of defense. At this point, I question why we need to be here if Golden Sonic can seemingly take care of anyone breaking in himself, but sure, we need gameplay. How Golden works is whenever he approaches to the doorway or the hallway, you need to shine the light at him to make him go away. Simple enough. But you also need to keep a generator running, which can be done on this camera by simply holding the button. Oh yeah, forgot to mention it, but the cameras here look very good. All locations look miles better compared to Five Nights at Sonic's 1 and 3, with amount of detail put into them, and Sonic doesn't look too out of place on them. Except at doors, he does look a bit weird in them. Yeah, there isn't much more to report on. This is the end of Night 1. And we are treated to yet another cutscene, this time happening in Five Nights at Sonic's 2 location. Shadow Sonic appears again, but this time with Golden Sonic from first game by his side, and does the same thing as the last time. Night 2 adds vent doors to the camera. There are 2 vents in the diner that just so happen to be connected to our office, and Golden took interest in them. To stop him from entering them, you need to close them whenever he's at the camera with the vent, which also causes power to drain faster, so don't keep them shut for too long. The next cutscene shows us in Five Nights at Sonic's 3 location, Shadow appears with 2 Golden Sonics by his side, does the same thing again, you get the gist. Night 3 adds a 3rd vent connected with the left hallway, allowing Golden to take a big shortcut to you. But did you notice something while I was talking about this section? Yeah, only Golden Sonic is here. Up until Night 5, Golden Sonic is the only enemy here. That's a big trove of content, man, and I can see why some people don't like this game all that much, because it stays so simple for way too long. Golden Sonic is simply not a threat considering how easy it is to track him on cameras and to deal with him. If I didn't have the foresight of knowing that there are more enemies in this game, I would simply assume that this is all the game has to offer, which is a terrible first impression considering it goes till Night 5. I have no idea why Switchup would decide to do this, but I can only say that the decision to introduce enemies only after Night 5 was a mistake. Another night is finished, another cutscene, this time from Five Nights at Sonic's 4 office, and Night 4 is essentially Night 3 but harder. Finishing this night, we get a cutscene from the perspective of our Golden Sonic, with all Golden Sonics and you know the drift by now. Night 5 adds a new enemy, finally. Shadow Sonic. His mechanic is interesting. He is essentially a second Golden Sonic, but you cannot look at him on camera for too long because he will start doing this. But again, he is essentially Golden Sonic the sequel, so he doesn't move that much on cameras, and you need to wait a good while for his camera gimmick to activate, so honestly, just treat him like another Golden Sonic clone. So finishing this night, it puts us straight back into the menu. Not even a paycheck or a cutscene, which is a bit jarring. We do get access to extras menu with only Origin Sonic. Alright, I guess this was the name for Golden Sonic all along, alongside his jump scare and Night 6. Night 6 is when everyone else gets added, and by that, I mean every single Golden Sonic from previous games. From now on, I will refer to them by year when they came from, because that's how games refer to them. Going in order, we have 15th Golden Sonic. He randomly changes posters around the location, and after that, appears in the office. Pull camera up to make him leave. 17th Golden Sonic is pretty much the same. He appears in the hallway as a ghostly head, and then in your office. Pull cameras up and wait for the light to stop flickering. 27th Golden Sonic works like he did in the third game. Whenever he appears on camera, switch or pull them down. Yeah. Nightmare Golden Sonic is our third Origin Sonic clone, but he seems to only come to the doors, and he leaves instantly after flashing him, but maybe has a shorter kill timer? I'm not sure. And finally, the gameplay is actually not sleep-inducing. Everyone flows pretty well with one another, you finally have a reason to put your camera down, and you need to split your attention between more than one threat. Great! Great! Wonderful even. One small question though. Why did you wait till Night 6 to introduce them? Again, what was the creative decision behind putting every single Golden Sonic into Night 6 instead of spreading them throughout the game? You know, like every other single Five Nights at Freddy's fan game would do? I do not understand this choice at all. Now, as much as I hate introducing every enemy on the first 2 nights, this is honestly just as annoying because instead of playing with everyone and getting bored by Night 3, I am waiting for the fun to begin. which is not much better. Okay, that was a bit of a rant. That was kinda hard, mainly because I didn't know how any of them worked. But, you know, there's some trial and error, and you'll get through it. When finishing, the game puts us back into the office, before Golden Sonic jumpscares you with... meaty sound effects? You then get a newspaper saying that the night guard was attacked right after his shift ended at 6:01. Our night guard apparently got bitten into the head, and no, it is not the bite of 87. This is meant to be the legally distinct the bite of 91 mentioned in the third game. After that, the whole extras menu is unlocked, and so is the custom night. The max mode was medium difficulty. It wasn't that hard to deal with three Sonics, Shadow especially, he just likes sitting on the three top cameras, but I did die a bunch because losing track of any Sonic is a death sentence. Also, it says that it is night 8 and not 7, and I have no idea where night 7 even is. Finishing that, we are presented with a dialogue. Someone is talking to our guard, who apparently fell into a coma after the bite, but did manage to recover. The voice does remark that we had some nightmares during it, but I don't think it's that important. At the end of it, we finally get a name drop that we were Dr. Robotnik this entire time. That's right, the guard that was bitten in 91 was Eggman, which is the canon event that sparked his hate for clones, the event that caused him, after waking up, to make the new clones in 2015 location aggressive and to murder them in 27. This does open up a bit of a plot hole because after the third game and possessing Golden Sonic suit, he seems to be working with the clones to kill Luigi in 4. What changed within him to do that? Better question yet, how does he possess Golden Sonic clone? How does the possession work? And how did 15 and 17 clones function at all? Did Origin Sonic just learn how to appear and disappear out of thin air? Well, according to the official lore document, which is a real thing you can check out right now, yes. During events of Five Nights at Sonic's 3, Origin decided to bury his soul, which allowed Eggman to enter his body. However, it is not a full possession, as sometimes Golden is in control and sometimes Eggman is in the control. It apparently depends on the eye color. 15 and 17 Sonic are apparently also Origin Sonic, who just learned how to manipulate time and space because of his malfunction. And to explain why every Golden Sonic is here, Origin Sonic, years later as Shadow Sonic, went back in time to destroy the timeline so that clones would never be made, but that plan failed and he gave up completely, letting Eggman be fully in charge of his body. Okay, but that's what was in the lore document, which of course most people don't know about. And as far as I'm aware, by the official means, we never found out about that because... So, is that all this game has to offer? Well, in extras there is this weird red option. That's right, I lied! This game is secretly a 2-in-1 deal. Nights 1 to 8 were just the beginning. Now it's time for the real man's turn in hard mode. Office is decayed, whole location actually does, and Sonic has those red eyes and those weird lines. Everyone moves a bit faster too, making the nights harder for the real man. In reality, imagine playing night 1 to 6, but this time there is stuff actually happening. No phone calls of course, but each night adds a new Golden Sonic to the mix, which once again makes me question why don't they just do it for the normal game. But whatever. Like, there aren't really many changes for the night gameplay. It's just that everyone is added gradually, which again makes me question even more why not do it for the main game. I am way too angry about this aspect of the game. The most interesting part of the hard mode are post-night conversations. Every night ends with a conversation between devs, you can guess who that refers to. They are color-coded. Cyan is Psywap, dark blue is Sonic 4925 or Sonic, green is Green Mario or Gran, maroon is Boo74 Gaming or Boo, and pink is Babsicute or Star. According to the conversation logs, it's 2028 and the last Sonic's Pizza Palace location closed down, so they can't make any more games based on Five Nights at Sonic's. Sonic comes up with an idea of opening their own location called Dev Location, with everyone agreeing on the idea. Next night, everyone is wondering where Star is, while also trying to find a perfect name for the place, landing on the Dev Location building. I couldn't come up with such a terrible name, and I am the worst when it comes to naming things. Next one shows a conversation between Star and Green. Green is trying to influence Star to design the animatronic to be more like Circus Baby, giving her the whole William Afton speech from the start of the sister location, and she agrees. Few years have passed and they finally finish the location. Before opening, everyone wants to add something to the building, and a month later after opening, robots apparently went haywire and are wrecking the location. Everyone tries to think of a solution, Stu tries to fix their programming and fails, so they decide to run away from responsibilities. Man, someone took Sonic 06's main plot too seriously. A day later, however, they realized that leaving robots that look just like them running rampant is a bad idea when your plan is to escape, so a new plan is made. Most of the team escapes by the pipe from Five Nights at Sonic's Tale to Immersed Island, and Psyop stays to take care of the robots. Everyone says goodbyes, and the recording ends. Credits roll again with explanation on who is who. And I'm sorry, but at this point I had to give up on the game. My right index finger hurt like all hell after binging this game in one day, and I couldn't force myself to play the custom night max mode. Behind it there's one more recording, but it's more so confirmation that everyone managed to escape and that Psyop is most likely dead. So this was all for Five Nights at Sonic's 5. God, that was a bit of a chore to finish. While I do see an attempt at a good gameplay in here, and considering it's the first original game, daring to say that it was better than the previous 4 official games, but oh my god, was I so bored by the end of it. The first 5 nights are straight up borefest with nothing going on. Night 6 is actually kinda interesting, and hard mode fried my brain like eggs from boredom. It may have had good intentions, and I will say that just the fact that Golden Sonics are added gradually makes it way better than the base game, but at that point the formula is stretched very thin, and you will get bored with it very quickly. Which may just be worse than a game that is straight up bad or good. Like, if I were to present the game's difficulty scaling by a graph, it would look more or less like this. And I personally don't think this is how a game's difficulty balance should be handled. But at the end of the day, it is still a pretty good fun game. Fans also seem to agree with that statement, since it seems to be their second most beloved entry right behind Five Nights at Sonic's 3. Is it the best one? No, not really. I think this is a literal potential game. It has a potential to be great. It has potential to surpass Five Nights at Sonic's 3. But in this form, I think it falls behind Five Nights at Sonic's 3. But hey, it is still better than 1, 2, 4, World and Simulator. Wait. Simulator? So yeah, we have a second spin-off game that was actually released and used to be canon, Sonic's Pizzeria Simulator, made by Bubsicud again, released in the May of 2018. Yeah, it seems like the development team had once again decided to take a break since this game took a while to release. Not sure if some drama already started brewing in there or if they simply took a break and that's why it didn't happen immediately because I cannot find anything about it. And since there is no information about it, I cannot talk about its development, which means that I better get to it sooner than later and check if Bubsicud improved in any way from Five Nights at Sonic's World. And how can I tell Bubsicud made it? Because god, the title screen is awful. Like, my god, what happened here? The main menu is pretty alright and are very clearly inspired by Sonic Mania, but I feel like they are only good because they are taken from a better game. Oh, and graphics displayed in it are still quite mediocre. But maybe let's start the new game. Maybe, just maybe, it can redeem itself. Who am I kidding? Of course it can't, it's made by Bubsicud. We start staring at what I assume is a letter sent to us, saying that we are a new owner of Sonic's Hero Pizza Palace. Apparently the brand was falling off a bit and needed some fresh blood to run it. And just like that, Monday begins. Oh, this is new. So before you begin the simulator portion of the game, you get to play a minigame inspired by the fake start of FNaF Pizza Sim. In it, you first make a pizza where you can add different ingredients on top of it. Every ingredient has a different effect attached to it, like split shooting or shooting out more pizzas. After preparing a pizza, you play as Sonic throwing the pizzas at the children and collecting rings for extra cash. From time to time, kids become red and need to be filled with pizza to calm them down. And of course, if you don't feed them enough, they leave, and when all are gone, the minigame ends prematurely. Pretty alright way to make extra cash early on. Later on, however, it's a waste of time. I never managed to make more than 100 rings in it, so I wouldn't rely on it as a way to make cash. After that, we get to the simulator portion, and sure enough, it's Pizza Simulator clone, but ugly and a bit broken. Actually, let me start by saying that despite trashing it earlier, the art direction has improved from Five Nights at Sonic's World, but it is still far below the quality and style main games have. So you have 4 shops, you have rings to buy things with, and your pizzeria has 3 upgrades. Yep, this sure is copy of Pizzeria Simulator. You only have 2 values here, safety and risk. Safety lowers risk, risk increases the chance for you to get a lawsuit. But, and that is a big but, despite having quite a lot of risk throughout the game, I never ran into a single lawsuit. so I cannot even show you what fighting lawsuits looks like. And since it's Pizzeria Simulator, there have to be minigames, am I right? There are 4. 4 minigames. The first one is Midnight Motorist Clone, and is found in the second catalog as the first one doesn't have any minigames for some reason. Here you drive as Sonic on the highway and dodge bikes until you get to the end. Simple, but you can screw yourself over easily. Next one is a soap shoes minigame. You jump over spikes until you reach the end. I thought it would be a good minigame to grind in, but on my second attempt this happened. Yeah, I don't think that's good. Third minigame is Ball Pit, and it's the game to grind with. The arrow moves very slowly, which makes hitting the pool pretty easy. Also, don't miss a single time in any of the minigames, or you won't be rewarded with any extra cash. And the last one is Gravity Vortex Clone. It was quite fun for the most part, but then this toad killed me and I'm quite sure I was close to killing him and beating the game, so out of rage I never tried it again. There are technically 2 more minigames, but they are more so gacha machines where you can get Luigi Net and maybe something else. And at this point you may ask, where are the other minigames? Like balloons, duck pond, basketball, fruity maze? Well, unfortunately, I have to first beat the game to answer that question, and man, do I have to say that you do not get out of money in this game. Not only do you get little starting cash, you also get barely anything from playing the minigames, meaning that you are constantly on tight budget. And while I'm at it, there are only 8 different animatronics to place. Trash and Gang, then the toys, and someone who has plot relevance. Man, this really is some bootleg version of Pizza Sim for the people who can't afford a free game. Okay, maybe it is time to finish the simulator portion and get to the office portion, which is different. Here you, of course, play the night portion of the simulator gameplay, in pretty much the same office as in Pizzeria Simulator. Computer, 2 vents on the side, turbine behind you, yep, this sure is FNaF 6 office. There are then different tasks which you need to finish before you can leave the office. You also have a motion monitor, and why does the map look so weird? I think the idea behind it was to make it more pizzeria-like, but I don't know, it doesn't look very good, and it's very hard to tell where everything is. Audio has the same map, and here is one of the new additions, Maintenance Panel. Here you can reboot fans in case you are overheating, which is just this red overlay. There is no temperature meter to see it in real time, so you have to rely on the color of the overlay to tell you if you are dying or not. Maintenance prevents you from continuing doing tasks, and audio reboots audio. Honestly, this is a bit of a worthless addition. Considering that the gameplay flows different than FNaF 6, it is understandable why something had to be added, as you will find out in a minute, but this is basically adding more waiting to a game that is already kind of a waiting game. But since there is nothing inside events on night 1, I'll talk more about the office on night 2. Now onto the salvage section, and this is different as well. Tonight we have Nightmare Tales here. Why is he here? Shouldn't he be on Emerald Island or something? Whatever. Mechanically, this may look like a Pizza Sim section. You do still play audio and check off the checklist, but whenever the clone is aggressive, you need to put on the mask and wait for it to calm down. Don't keep it on for too long because you'll die from the toxicity, which makes you restart the whole day. And you know, it would be a shame if it happened. However, I have no idea what is up with the RNG that decides when they move up a stage or calm down, because sometimes a whole sample goes by without a movement, and sometimes he moves every single time I turn the sample on. And especially later on, enemies can sometimes just decide to not calm down. However, it's not like they will attack you if the tape isn't playing. So the best strategy is to literally just wait out in case your toxicity is maxed out, and then try again. No idea what is going on with the programming of this game, but it sure looks like out of spaghetti. Finishing the salvage section, we get an end of night minigame. Our Sonic remarks that his first day was tiring and leaves the pizzeria. On the road we find some food barracks, and following them we run into a Golden Sonic? He congratulates us for opening the location and says that he's from the 2017 location. He warns us that if we don't keep things in check, things will go very wrong. He's also too surprised we found Nightmare Tales and salvaged him, and gives us a few tips on how to defend against him. After Golden is finished talking, you get a daily tally of how much you made, and then the cycle repeats on Tuesday. Start with throwing pizzas at children, buy some things for pizzeria, maybe get some money from minigames, and then to the office. After that you salvage something, and go on a smoke break with Golden. So since I described essentially all of the simulator and pizza throwing portion of the game, let's get to the office section since now there is something in the vents. To defend against Nightmare Tales, you press this big sexy button to close the vent whenever you hear his sound cue. This in turn deactivates the turbine, meaning you begin to slowly suffocate. When you hear him leave, open vents and continue working. Turning the PC off also turns silent ventilation on, which essentially prolongs your suffocation process. He's not hard to deal with, but the gameplay is at least different from FFPS. Tonight's salvage is... Golden Sonic? No wait, this isn't the same Golden Sonic as at the end of the night. He is ugly! Once again, at the end of night, Sonic is wondering why there are 2 Golden Sonics and why is Tails attacking us. 17 Golden Sonic once again congratulates us on surviving, and is not surprised to mention that there is another Golden Sonic since he time traveled here. Oh yeah, this game got retconned, so maybe that's why Golden Sonic can time travel. Wednesday, my dudes. So 80s Golden Sonic joins the fray, and I never run into him in the main game, only in the custom night max mode. He is rather basic, appearing in front of the computer, and to get rid of him, you look away from him. He's a non-issue, and this night felt more like night 2 again. Tonight's salvage is Tengu, but a bit withered. Weird that she's marked as a clone when I'm pretty sure she is a robot. Going to the end of Midnight minigame, Sonic is finally starting to question his job position. 17's Golden Sonic wants to tell us a secret, but only at the end of the week. He also breaks the fourth wall saying that this game has different endings and like, dude, this is a Pizza Sim clone. Of course it has more than 2 endings. Thursday, and thankfully, Tengu works differently compared to Tails. Whenever she appears in vents, she will play gurgling sounds, and you need to look at her for a few seconds while the vent is open. She isn't as dangerous as you may think, because even when you have a vent closed, you can look at the vent she is in and see that your flashlight flickers when looking at her. So when the threat that requires vent to be closed leaves, just move back to the vent and deter her. Tonight's salvage is this guy. His name is Righty Sonic, seems like another clone from another Sonic's Pizza Palace location. This time Sonic is just wondering who the hell this guy was. Going to Golden, he gives us one line saying that characters can be deleted by file manipulation and disappears, revealing door behind him. Inside the room we find 4 cloning machines, 3 of which are broken. And after entering the only working one, this happens. It is Friday, and now we need to deal with Righty Sonic, who is essentially another Nightmare Tails. Close the vent whenever he's near you. Tonight's salvage seems to be the Sonic clone we created yesterday. This is Lefty Sonic, and if you wonder, yes, she is a female, and the grey Sonic we saw at the title screen. I didn't know clone machines can also transition gender, but I guess since this game is not canon, this fact is also not canon. After finishing the salvage, instead of getting taken to the minigame, Lefty Sonic starts talking to us. In short, she says that this whole story is supposed to be about her and only her, and not wanting us to interfere, she will come to kill us tonight. Also, she looks a bit like Eldritch being here. And besides girl, you were born literally yesterday, and I had been working at this godforsaken pizzeria for the last 5 nights. So I don't think I will give you the main character status that easily. On Saturday, Lefty Sonic is also crying for rents, but she's the 3rd Nightmare Tails, so she isn't a threat. And since she is the last threat, I can confidently say that the night sections here suck. Compared to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator that is rather unpredictable and keeps you on edge, this one just bores me. We have 3 threats that use the same mechanic, 1 original mechanic and character that didn't appear a single time during main night gameplay. I know this was very much different time in FNaF fandom, and this may have looked impressive at the time, but to me, this is underwhelming in every way possible. I have no positives to add. The night segments are just bad. Finishing the shift, Sonic runs away from the pizzeria with Lefty yelling for us to come back. We then get a zoom on a nearby pipe with Lefty entering it, which I thought would be yet another advertisement for Five Nights at Sonic's Tale, but it turned out to be advertisement for Rockclones instead. More on it soon. Oh, and yeah, this is the base game ending. And with that, the credits roll. Going back to the main menu, I got a few certificates. One for finishing the game, other for buying all pizza ingredients, and as such we also unlock extras menu showcasing every character, and finally you learned that this ugly Sonic is from the 2018 and was not invited to Five Nights at Sonic's 5. And this does confirm that this takes place in 2018, which is a year after Five Nights at Sonic's 2 and not Five Nights at Sonic's 4 as I expected. Wait a minute, why is Nightmare Tails here then? He was created by Savage Sonic before the start of Five Nights at Sonic's 4. So why would he be here 10 years before events of that game took place? I guess that's why this game is not canon anymore, since it would jumble up the timeline dramatically. Righty Sonic comes from a location called Sonic's Family Pizza and Dining and is also an animatronic and not a clone. That's honestly quite odd. Especially since Lefty Sonic is implied to be sister of Righty, even if she was born on Friday and Righty was definitely built way before the events of the game. I guess? Let's go with it? I don't get it. And of course you get to see all jump scares, cut content like early Lefty Sonic's design, which I cannot tell if it's better than the current one, and you also get making of both Lefty and Righty, modifiers that I am not touching, and minigames. Now, minigames are interesting, since I initially suspected that these are minigames from the pizza section, but half of them are, as far as I'm aware, unused. So first one is a Midnight Motorist again, but second one is a Fruity Maze clone. In it you play as Righty Sonic collecting cookies while being chased by Lefty Sonic's head. Or ghost, I'm not sure. Third one is a basketball minigame that gets straight up unfair at the end. Like look at this is like 2 pixels wide, and the arrow actually moves fast this time. The fourth one is just pull again. This is a very weird collection of minigames because where are the Soap Shoes, Gravity Vortex or Reimagined minigame? Alright, that thing. So I went back to the main game and modified my save file to get a lot of money to buy the last few items. Reimagined is a security puppet, but 10 times less engaging. You play it twice with it saying that no one is here. On third attempt he rushes out of the box with an image of Lefty flashing on screen. Also Knuckles and Knuckles game console doesn't have a minigame attached to it. That's a shame. Alright, all that is left is Custom Night, and because this game was so easy, I jumped to the max mode immediately and bet it on my second try. On the first one I didn't even die to any threats, I just suffocated. Beating it gives us this cutscene where I presume Golden Sonic is talking to Lefty, shaming her for failing her only objective of trying to kill us. Golden goes on to talk about her dying with her friends, who I assume are the remaining salvages, and that despite trying to replace Sonic, she failed. He then leaves by the warp pipe and says to us that vents are faulty because of him, before saying goodbyes to Lefty and actually leaving. Next we are shown this image of Lefty ghost in front of our PC that is on fire before credits roll. I have no idea what that meant, but an ending is an ending I guess. And having no idea how to get other endings, I turn to taste once more. The first ending is very simple to get. You use a save file to cheat your way back to the Friday, and before you say I'm cheating, Golden Sonic specifically said that I can cheat, so I will just take this and use it as a pass to let me cheat. After getting to the salvage section and finishing it while Lefty is talking, delete a value called character 5 equals 1, or just 1 from it to trigger another ending. Lefty Sonic is sad that we deleted her because she hoped to be friends. I'm seeing some mixed messages here, girl. Do you want us dead or to be friends? She falls apart, Reimagined approaches her and the credits roll. Alright, I don't get this ending, but what is the next one? Of course, it's related to modifiers. To get this ending, you need to turn every modifier on and beat 520 mode. And I will be honest, this felt more cheap and annoying than hard and challenging. Lower oxygen I can take on easily. Aggression is just annoying, but darkness is painful, like, come on man. I can't see shit. Making Tango a nightmare to deal with and making pressing buttons very hard. And the last two basically ask you to move at the start of the night. So, since I couldn't see anything on my screen, I cranked the gamma up, which did help with the darkness, even if my eyes hated every second of it. But the night still felt more like constantly rolling my dice and hoping I don't land wrong numbers. But after like half an hour of attempts, I managed to do it. Strategy is very simple, just rush the tasks, and whenever you hear vent bank, close the vent for like 2 seconds for them to leave, and to save on oxygen, deal with Tango when you hear her, that's about it. So getting through it, we get no dialogue from Golden, but a shot of Lefty leaving the pizzeria with someone saying that they will see her next week. Alright, the next ending requires me to finish every custom night challenge, but I'm feeling lazy and I already bet 520 mode twice, so... After 100% definitely legitimately getting every single Chaos Emerald, clicking the red one gives you a minigame. Here, you play as Lefty in what seemed to be an early version of Rockclones. Okay, I am joking, it isn't Rockclones, but it is a platformer, so I will count it as Rockclones. You platform through some pretty annoying platforming, like, okay, it isn't 520 with modifiers annoying, it's more so lack of any kind of reaction to taking damage that annoyed me, because quite often I would accidentally touch a spike or something else and lose health, but Lefty doesn't react to it in any way, and only when I look at the HP bar I realize I am in fact dying. Also, some platforming requires you to die to learn where to go and when to go, which is just cheap. And on top of that, Lefty's jump height can't be controlled. She has one height. But after getting through all of that, you get to Golden Sonic boss fight. You need to step on him several times, and it's harder than it sounds because he doesn't have any kind of movement pattern. He just appears from the holes that will instantly kill you if you fall into them. Just wait till he appears to be coming from the bottom and you win. And for that, we get told to go home, with Sonic looking just like me IRL. Alright, is this it? Can I finally move to the next game? Can I finally go outside and touch grass? No. There is still one tab on the bottom that I didn't want to talk about, but to finish this section off, I think I have to. Welcome to the Chaos Mode, the ultimate custom night of Five Nights at Sonic's before Maniac Mania, and ultimate custom night somehow. Yeah, not only is this game Pizzeria simulator clone, it also features a ultimate custom night clone inside of it. There is only one problem. I don't really like Ultimate Custom Night, so I didn't really bother with it. And the next game is Maniac Mania, which is a proper Ultimate Custom Night game for the series, so I think you can see why I was not willing to bother with an older UCN clone of it. But I guess I can at least tell you what is it like. There are 30 characters to pick from almost every single Five Nights at Sonic's game, with few newcomers from this game. Office is very Ultimate Custom Night-like, but has a hallway in the middle and 2 vents. Wet floor sign is replaced with wires, and cameras are also here. Okay, going through characters real quick. Sonic sits in the backroom camera and from time to time becomes evil. Shock him whenever that happens. Tails waits in his cove, wait for him to run out and close the right door. Mario and Yoshi walk around the place randomly and randomly play sound cues to close left and right door. Fountain Sonic appears when the monitor is down, put it back up to avoid him. Toy Sonic, Withered Sonic, Mario, Yoshi will come to you through the hallway. Whenever they are in the office, put cameras up and wait for the light to stop flickering. Toy Mario, Yoshi and Balloon Toad randomly enter vents. Close them when you hear the sound cue. Reimagined is a music box, but is in the office, so you don't even need to check the cameras for it. Tingle is behind you and gurgles. When it gets loud, she will run on the ceiling, hit her to reset her. Withered Tails is also in the hallway, flicker the flashlight at him to deter him. 17's Golden Sonic sometimes appears in the hallway, do not flash the hallway when that happens. Savage Sonic randomly plays glitch sound. Move the wires to the side you hear them from. Phantom Tails is supposed to appear in front of you and you are supposed to pick up the camera to avoid blackout, but I never got him to appear. Withered Toys are a second music box on Cam 6. 27 Golden Sonic appears on camera from time to time, switch or put them down to avoid him. Luigi Nightmare jumps around the office. Whenever he approaches, boop his nose. Okay, but you will say that I never mentioned his existence in Five Nights at Sonic's 4th section, right? Yeah, he was supposed to be a part of the cancelled Five Nights at Sonic's 4 reboot called Pizzeria Aftermath that I mentioned all the way back in Five Nights at Sonic's 4 section. It's apparently a bit confusing as he was supposed to be a part of 4 DLC, but after doing a quick fact check, it turned out that Luigi Nightmare was not a part of the original DLC. However, he technically lived on in a game called Five Nights at Sonic's 4 DLC Reborn made by Kane, who seems to be going by Samuel Deere nowadays. He also made Five Nights at Sonic's Nightmare Reborn series. Would you be interested in me covering that? Okay, don't get distracted, back to the characters. Nightmare Golden Sonic sometimes shows his eyes in the vents, close the right one. Phantom Savage Sonic randomly appears on camera, switch camera to avoid blackout. He was a secret encounter that I didn't encounter in the 4th game. Shadow Sonic slowly materializes in the office. Whenever he fully manifests, put the camera up and wait for the light to stop flickering. Lefty Sonic will go from left to right of the office. When she does that, you need to boop her nose. Withered Tango will walk from left to right, and whenever her gurgles are getting louder, close the right door. 18 Golden Sonic sits with you in the office, sleeping. Whenever he wakes up, boop his nose to put him back to sleep. Righty Sonic walks around the location and enters the vent with a sound cue, close the right one. Sonny, oh, so this is the name of this little guy, sits with you under the office. Whenever he jumps at you, press his nose to deter him. And finally, Dr. Golden from Rockclones. He sits in a vent above you, and whenever he's too close, you activate the heater to make him back away. And this is it. Again, I am not wasting my time beating it fully, but I think that just collecting footage gave me a good idea on what is it like, and it is indeed a poor man's version of Ultimate Custom Night. Office and cameras have weird scrolling, you cannot close doors and vents when you have camera up, and everyone just moves very slow. Like, this is meant to be a max AI, and they attack me maybe 2 times for the whole night. Is this it? Am I finally free from the game? Yeah, I am. This is all Sonic's Pizzeria Simulator has to offer. And as you can tell, this isn't that great of a game. Mechanically, it's a simplified version of Pizzeria Simulator. And that's like the only thing it does well. While adding the fake minigame as a proper part of the gameplay sounds cool, it falls off hard by night 3. Simulator portion was botched very hard with the lack of minigames and things to place down. Night gameplay, as I said before, is bad and boring. I have no idea why I expected something good here, but my low expectations somehow became negative. Art is still worse than the original quintuple of games, mechanics are very exploitable, characters introduced are not interesting, and the chaos mode is redundant when the next game is chaos mode but better. You know, I just feel like the energy that was put into this game was kind of wasted, and being made unofficial in the end only solidifies this game as a waste of everyone's time and energy. Don't play it unless you are curious. There were, however, 2 attempts at remaking the game. The first one being called Sonic's Pizzeria Simulator Remastered Sonic's Pizza Panic, which has a demo dated for July 2018. Which not only is a very short time after the release of the original, it was deleted on the same day. Now that is something interesting. It doesn't have much in it, only 3 characters to choose from, Righty Mario, Closhi and Molten Tango with AI going up to 40. And the game is very complex for some reason, and weird. Okay, so you start in front of 3 monitors. Monitor on the left allows you to change the window on the middle monitor, which can either display cameras, deck system or devices. You can look at the left and right vent and use flashlight on it, or look behind you to access a reboot panel with a lot of things to reboot. Okay, going to characters. Righty Mario will go behind you and try to open the door. Close them in the devices menu. He then sends his puppet Peach into one of your vents and you need to find her and turn on the flashlight to avoid her. Closhi will try to get to your vents, and to keep it away, you use this lever to activate the gas tank to deter him. It sometimes breaks, so from time to time you need to reboot it. Also the design is pretty cool. Tango is in the ducts, and when she's too close you shut the duct entrance, but not for too long or else you'll suffocate. Do all that till 6 AM and leave the place. These are the only 3 characters and gameplay is already pretty confusing. Art, however, is better than in Sonic's Pizzeria Simulator and gameplay too, but whoever decided to put the cameras on the right monitor should have been fired. And while I didn't beat it, from my time with it, I can say that it just wasn't all that fun of a game to begin with. And I am still wondering why it was cancelled and deleted so quickly. However, the second attempt actually worked out and brought us Sonic's Pizzeria Simulator Ultimate in 2023. It's Sonic's Pizzeria Simulator, but from what I played, it is 10 times better than the original. Graphically, night and day. Every gameplay section is actually fun. Mechanics changed everywhere, pizza throwing is better, nighttime sections are actually changing now, and they're its own thing rather than a Pizza Sim ripoff. Well, okay, they're even closer to Pizza Sim now, but it is way better, that's what I want to say. There are way more minigames, you can punch Balloon Toad in one of them, and Knuckles and Knuckles console actually has a minigame in it. I can't say much more because I only played up to Wednesday, even if I unlocked most of the things by that point, and even one of the endings. But if you look at the runtime of the video, do you think I have room for a remake of this game that costed me more sanity than the whole The Return to Freddy series? No, but if you are curious, you can check it out. And please, again, do not touch the 2080 version. Okay. So it is time to move to the big one. The chaos mode, but better. Five Nights at Sonic's Maniac Mania was an official entry in the Five Nights at Sonic series, made originally by Switchup, but later taken over by Smiler Versifer, and was released on the 1st of February 2020 as a celebration of 5 years of Five Nights at Sonic's. So maybe let's talk a bit about development, because not only will it be important to understand why the game is generally not looked back on as often as other entries are, but this is also where the first cracks that led to the eventual liquidation of Team Sandix and the downfall of the series would start showing up. From what I can find, the game was originally called Five Nights at Sonic's Chaos Mode or Chrono Chaos, but I'm not sure if the second one was ever used. The game was supposed to be an Ultimate Custom Night before Ultimate Custom Night and was going to be made by the Switchup around 2018, but didn't get far due to lack of ideas. Around the same time, Smiler Versifer joined Team Scientix and started work on the 6th entry of Five Nights at Sonic's in 2019 that was going to be their Return to Freddy's 5-inspired game, following the hard mode ending of Five Nights at Sonic's 5. Can you guess that it got cancelled? I think you already did. All we know about it is that it was going to feature torture clones, which we have designs of, general layout of the story, and few screenshots of the main menu. Around 2019, during an expansion of Team Scientix, the idea for Ultimate Custom Night style game was revived and partially worked on with a small teaser released on July 1st. Rest of the year was fully focused on working on Maniac Mania and making an official wiki with another controversy regarding info poses, which were supposed to be made by Smiler, but he moved responsibility to another guy, and I don't think it's as important as the server deletion incident. So, sometime in 2018, both development and community Discord servers were deleted by Switchup for unknown reasons, which caused a lot of chaos considering the now big size of Team Scientix and community, not to mention Maniac Mania developers losing contact with, the guy making it. This in turn made Smiler, on his own, with no official permission from Sai, to take over the development of Maniac Mania. He got the core team members back together and worked on the game behind Switchup's back. I got in touch with the main artist on this game, Kramsgod, who explained the incident, saying that all he got after the deletion was radio silence, until Smiler DM'd him the development was now in his hands and would send assets over DMS. One demo later in 2018, and both Discord servers getting put back on, meaning that Switchup was now aware of everything that happened behind his back, he was less than happy to learn that Smiler essentially stole his work, but since the release window was approaching and the game itself being pretty much finished, meaning that cancelling at this point would be stupid, he pressured Smiler to finish the game. And so, on February 1st, 2020, the game was released to universal praise from everyone. Behind the closed doors, however, things were heated to say the least, because again, Smiler took over the development without Switchup's consent, didn't even let him know that it was being worked on until the servers came back, but also took a lot of credit for the game for himself, in spite of some of it being complete BS. But at the time, the hype was too strong, and a lot of people didn't care about all of that happening. Yeah, I am well aware Smiler is a controversial figure and basically the person whose name shall not be spoken in the community, but I am here to cover the game he partially made, and I will address what he did later on. Because after getting all of that out of the way, I want to move over to the game. And yeah, there is the demo of the game called Maniac Mania Minus, but just like every demo we had up to this point, it just has less content than the full game and nothing that can't be found in the full version, so I am going to skip this one. With that out of the way, let's get into the game. I have to say, the title screen is finally back with glory. The logo looks wonderful, and at the bottom of it, every character from Five Nights at Sonic's is shown. And by every character from the series, I mean every character from the series. It's not some favorite speaking like Chaos Mode was, everybody is here. We then transition into a hub. And the first thing we should do is go into the tutorial. Here Lefty Sonic, which slays in the suit, and Withered Sonic go on to explain the basics of the game. Their dynamic was hilarious, I can't deny that. But since it's my job to explain the game, I have to skip pretty much all of the dialogue, but believe me, it is very funny. After that, you can check out the main game. Just like in Ultimate Custom Night, you can select AI for characters individually or for everyone, and instead of being shown in small boxes, you'll see them in these columns, additionally showing their starting location alongside AI level. There is also an info button that shows you a full body picture of the enemy and gives a brief description on how to deal with them. On top, you also have the most important part of the game, the challenges. You pick one of 36 challenges varying in difficulty, and then begin the night. So now it is time for me to run down through the basics of the game that Lefty taught me. At the bottom of the screen you have red and blue bars. Red is for the cameras, blue is for the mask. The location itself is pretty massive, definitely bigger than anything we had up to this point, and has over 23 cameras, although there are 3 cameras that are more important than the others. Cam 7 has a music box, Cam 6 has a tail scope, and Cam 22 has a generator. It's basically the same as the one in Five Nights at Sonic's 5, just press the button to charge power. There are also cameras where you can use the sound lure for Five Nights at Sonic's 3 characters. Back in the office, with the control key, you can use flashlight to flash the middle hallway, and you can also use it in Periscope. Going back to the mask, when you put it on, you still have the ability to use both the flashlight and the doors. Doors have both close and lights buttons, and there are 3 vents, 2 on the side and 1 in front of you. On the desk itself, you also have a reboot panel. Use it to fix cameras, sound lure and ventilation. If ventilation is not fixed for too long, Salvage Sonic will kill you. And each night lasts 6 minutes, and after that, you win! Alright, when you finish a challenge, you will get rewarded with a few rings that you can spend at Lefty's shop for plushies, office decorations, skins, and this letter that costs way too much. Also, Lefty casually says we are Luigi, so I guess that's what happened to him after Five Nights at Sonic's 4. While decorations do look a bit distracting, it is nice to see your office fill up with items you bought as you progress through the game, giving a nice sense of progression. Alright, now it's time for an obligatory explanation of every character in the game. Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Sonic, Mario and Yoshi will go to your doorways. Sonic can go to either of them, Mario and Yoshi will go to the left and right door respectively. Close whenever they are at them. Tails sits in his cove and will run out of it with a sound cue. You then need to look at the hallway cameras, as he can go randomly through either left or right, and close the correct door. 15's Golden Sonic starts in the basement messing with the generator. If you try to charge it while he's messing with it, he breaks it so you can't charge the power for the rest of the night. After that he will make his way to your office, and when he appears, open the camera to get rid of him. Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Toy Mario and Yoshi will go to the right and left vent. When you can see them in the office, put on the mask to fool them. Toy Sonic and Withered Sonic will go through the middle hallway and eventually reach your office. Put on the mask to deter them. Withered Mario and Yoshi go to doors, and you can close them to stop them both from entering when you see them on the corner cameras, but that won't make them leave, and when you eventually open them, they will enter the office. Once again, put on the mask. Withered Tails goes to the hallway, shine light at him to make him leave. Reimagined is just music box. Tango starts in the cove and will make her way to the right vent. When in the office she makes gurgling sounds and you need to put on the mask. 70's Golden Sonic appears in the hallway and then in the office. Put either camera or mask up to avoid him. Also, his nose is boopapoo. And then there's Balloon Toad, who does not steal your flashlight, but instead is DD of the game. He appears at 2 AM, and if not at the AI level 50, will summon a random assortment of characters. At 50 he summons everyone. Okay, so extra Balloon Toad characters. Ray from Rockclones replaces Sonic when not active, but if Sonic is active, he mirrors Sonic's movements, so if Sonic is in the left door, Ray is at the right door. Nightmare from Five Nights at Freddy's for cut content will make running sounds and show a tentacle near the door he's running to. Close the right one to not die. View Fox. Okay, I didn't mention him at all beforehand. Well, okay, I mentioned this guy once at Five Nights at Freddy's 5 conversations, but didn't elaborate on him. So yeah, he did appear a few times in previous games, but all I could find on this guy is that he got into porno and grooming, so... Luigi Kid. Luigi Kid sometimes replaces posters around the location with his likeness. Switch camera to avoid dying. Toy Toys replaces Tango when she's active. She goes for the vent above you, and while you can be locked out, she won't leave. Leaving it open makes her enter the office. Put on the mask once more. Tails though from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 cut content, and I guess Sonic R. He starts in the basement in the arcade machine and slowly makes his way to the office. When he appears, you need to stare him down until he disappears. Plashnik and Plush Tails cut from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. They start in the hallway and slowly move towards you. When you hear a squeaking sound, hold your light on them to reset them. Phantom Savage Sonic appears in the side hallways. If looked at for too long, will jumpscare and break a system. Dr. Golden from Rockclones. He teleports around the location with a Phantom Ruby and eventually appears at both doorways. To find the real one, you need to check which ruby is glowing and close the door on him. Alright, back to the regular bozos. Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Savage Sonic wanders around the location and can be fooled to go to different rooms with audio lure. He will be going for the two vents at Pirate's Cove and Game Corner, and if he gets into them, he appears in the hallway cameras and can't be lured back. He will then enter this in-between area and walk towards you, giving you a short time period to use the lure in the hallway he came from to call him back. Withered Toy Sonic, Mario and Yoshi also attack from behind the glass. Toy Sonic rushes at you after laughing, Mario walks kinda slow, and you can't see Yoshi cause she has no legs and is too small. Put on the masks for all of them. 27 Golden Sonic randomly appears on camera. Switch them quickly to avoid death. But he can also appear below the desk, in which case you need to pick the camera up or put on a mask. Okay, so Phantom Clones. Mario walks by the window and will attack you if you look at him for too long, but also stops when you put on the mask. Yoshi appears on control panel, do not use it when that happens. Tails can appear on a random side of the office, move to the opposite side to deter him. Balloon Toad will be in one of the vents, put on the mask to make him fade away. Otherwise he takes the flashlight and flashes it in your face. Tango and Reimagined appear on west and east camera. Tango gargling and Reimagined blocking vision and mask usage, the most evil of them all. Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Nightmare Sonic, Mario and Yoshi go to the doorways, and when at them their eyes will shine. Close doors to avoid death. Nightmare Tails is sleeping at Pirate's Cove and sometimes wakes up. Keep light on him to put him back to the sleep. Toymer goes to the vent above you, and when he's there he will make a loud bang. And to get rid of him you need to close the vent. Nightmare Golden Sonic goes around the location and messes with the lights in rooms he's in. He then appears at the doors and needs to be scared away with door light. Five Nights at Freddy's 5. Origin Sonic will wander around the location and will walk into doorway, hallway or vents, and when he's there, you need to keep the light on him to make him go away. Shadow Sonic works pretty much the same, but also messes with the cameras if looked at for too long, just like in Five Nights at Freddy's 5. The last three guys can also be made easier by buying Original Sonic plushie that is alive and will point where you need to use the light. Expect hallway for some reason. As you can see, everyone really is here. No picking favorites like Chaos Mode did, and everyone more or less has the same mechanics as in their original game. To this day, I think it's the best thing this game does. It implements pretty much every mechanic from the series back into this game and doesn't just give them random mechanics like Ultimate Custom Night games do. Don't get me wrong, this game is still hard at times, but for the most part, after playing the previous games, this was a bit rewarding to be able to use the same defenses against all the clones and robots I had fought with throughout the series. And do I have to say that this art style looks great? Every camera looks wonderful, characters are more expressive than ever, they look better than ever, and game over screens are chef's kiss with both looks and dialogue. Yes, dialogue. Most of the characters in this game have some quirky dialogue to go along with it.
Your fate is the same as that pink hedgehog's.
So like now that he's gone, can we have a ban on flashlights?
Guess I'm not the one falling this time.
And did I mention Clans God drew everything here? Well, okay, he didn't draw Lefty and Withered Sonic for the tutorial section, those were made by his friend, but everything else, Clans' work. My god, dude does not get enough praise for that. So, outside of completing the challenges, what else can keep you playing? Well, there's the survival mode returning once again. Every second one AI gets added to a random character and it's your job to survive for as long as possible. Achievements are also here for doing several things like finishing the tutorial, booping 17th golden Sonic nose, or not looking at Tails the whole night and winning. You can also collect jump scares in this menu and replay them. There is a music tab that tells you what music was rightfully taken and used here. So completing this game compared to the earlier entries took me like 4 days. Keep in mind I was doing all of this without any sort of guidance, but I'm pretty sure you can finish this game way faster if you know what you are doing. And since I don't really want this section to devolve into me yapping about every single challenge or thing I bought, I think it's about time I talk about the issues I noticed while playing. Surprisingly, there weren't that many, but they were still pretty annoying. Firstly, most of the challenges are copy and paste of one another and are very boring and easy. There is Five Nights at Sonic's 1 challenge. And then there's Abandoned Five Nights at Sonic's 1 where AI is maxed out. There are challenges where you fight against a specific group of characters. There are challenges that are Maniac Mania but with lower AI value. To put it simply, there is a lot of repetition here. And while I'm on topic of repetition, there are so many characters that share the same mechanic. And sure, that should have been expected, bringing every single mechanic from every single Five Nights at Sonic's game that was already borrowing mechanics from every Five Nights at Freddy's game. But if we are going to be specific, there really are only like 5 mechanics at the most. We have doors, we have lights, we have cameras, we have music box, and mask. And sure, a bunch of characters overlap, but because of that, the game becomes very stale very quickly. And other than those 2 big issues, there are a few smaller ones, like cameras scrolling pretty slowly even with the fast speed enabled in the settings. Office still uses the old scrolling system that is a bit junky. There are no keyboard controls outside of the flashlight, which is a bit of a missed opportunity. Decorations, while cool looking, don't do much and really could use at least some sound effect when clicked. And achievements are sometimes tiring to get, but I guess that's in their nature. And oh look, while I was yapping about the issues of this game, I finished every challenge, got most of the achievements, bought every costume, plushie and decoration, with only 1 challenge left to beat, the Maniac Mania. And you know, I would love to complain how hard it was, how grueling completing it was, how many tries it took me, and how some clones became my #1 enemies, but I bet it on the first try. I'm not even kidding. I guess beating every in-game challenge does make you better at the game, doesn't it? Sure, I barely scraped by, but it was definitely easier than Ultimate Custom Night Max mode. After the 6 AM screen, you are teleported in front of Dr. Golden. He is very impressed with us for beating the hardest difficulty on his arcade machine and allows us to ask him 12 questions as a reward. And so, you are given a list of questions with 7 pages of questions to ask him, like why is he calling himself Dr. Golden, his favorite video game or anime, or if you are curious about the lore, you can ask him those questions too. Which I'm going to do now because he appeared twice already, and his story is relevant to the story of the games. If you ask Dr. Golden about his past, you will get the full story of Origin Sonic, who after a few days of his creation saw himself from the future and committed the bite of 91 on Eggman. After that, the place closed down for 24 years with Origin still inside, until he got moved to the first Sonic's Hero Pizza Palace location, and then to the second one, and both times he wasn't used, so he was just kind of vibing and learning how to use his corrupted nature to manipulate reality. He was, however, seen by Amy Rose and had to murder her before word came out that Origin Sonic was still alive. This causes the second place to shut down, and 10 years later, Origin Sonic gets moved to a third location's storage room. Around the same time, Clone Sonic kills Eggman, and Eggman goes on to possess the husk of Golden Sonic, who gets reawakened because another soul got inside of him. However, at this point, Golden was still in control, or at least during the events of Five Nights at Sonic 3. After the location burns down, Origin's body is fully possessed by Eggman, who manages to kill Clone Sonic and avenges his death. I guess after that, Origin Sonic takes control back again and helps Clones get Luigi, and after that he goes into hiding. But while all that was happening, he was melting, causing him to eventually become Shadow Sonic, and that's when Origin got an idea of causing a time paradox to prevent all of this from happening. But the plan fails and the bite still happened, meaning the rest of the timeline still happens. Shadow Sonic fixes his body up, goes back to the future, and after giving up his body to Eggman, he finds and disassembles Toymer for toy parts, repairs them, and orders them to cut his legs and replace them with robotic ones to hopefully stop melting. And they succeed! His body did not melt again, and he started world domination plans, but that is the plot of Rockclones, so back to the interview. What other things are interesting to ask? So, he likes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, he thinks Sonic Recolors are dumb, he would open a hardware store if he wasn't evil and his computers would have 1 TB of RAM, he doesn't like Toy Tales that much, he likes to play Dance Dance Revolution, and if he was to dominate the world, he would give everyone a robotic assistant and make Fried Chicken Friday a weekly celebration. Well, I'm with him on that part. After we are done, he sends us back into the machine and credits roll. But we are not done yet, as I still have few achievements to finish before I get 100%. Alright, now that we have 999 rings, we can buy this letter from before, which makes Lefty quite surprised and asks us to leave. Going back inside, we find her gone, but can read the contents of the letter. She thanks us for being a good friend and employee, and that she left the arcade machine with money we gave her to start a new life, away from Sonic's Hero Pizza Palace to separate herself from the franchise. Well, if that isn't a sweet conclusion. We also find a folder with few screenshots from development of the games and Rockclones, showcasing some stages. But also, we unlock the lab mode. Here you have 2 whole modifiers you can set up. One makes game more aggressive, the other one makes the game unplayable for me. In addition to that, you can also set every extra character's level individually. So what does Toad do now? Becomes punchable, that's what. Whenever he appears, you need to punch him a few times to make him go away, and yes, he can jumpscare you. So getting all achievements at this point was just grind, like beat lab mode tonight with this modifier. Get 30 minutes in survival mode, which was personally the most painful one, get jumpscared by every single enemy, or hit 50 nights in total, which was the most boring one to get. So, after yet another day of grinding, I got the last achievement. What happened to the menu? Everything is locked up except for the main mode with those eyes. Welcome, for real this time, to the Funny Now challenge. In this night you are facing against Phantom Ian, a personification of Psywap's old username and Sonic OC. And as you have guessed, this is a boss fight. Ian has a few ways of attacking. He sometimes makes a sound and rushes down the doors, and you need to close the right one to get rid of him. When checking the cameras, he will cover them like 27's Golden Sonic, in which case you need to just put them off or switch them to avoid him. He can also appear in the middle corridor, at which point you need to hold flashlight as long as he's in there. If you hear vents banging, you need to put on the mask. If he appears in front of you, you need to reboot him with the reboot panel. And lastly, he will start flashing text asking you to find him. And so you need to search cameras for him as the screen darkens and stare him down to get rid of him. Oh, and just so you know, you actually don't die if he catches you. He will instead punch the screen, and if he does this twice, you actually die. At 4 and 7 AM he will also lower the power to 20%, so watch out for that. Honestly, for the last challenge in this game, this was very easy and I bet it on my first try. I kind of expected more, but at the same time, this was only the beginning of trend when people started adding boss fights to Five Nights at Freddy's fan games, so maybe I should have lowered my expectations. But as you reach 8 AM, you realize that this game may have been rigged from the start. Opening the game again shows us that Ian got out of the machine, with the text saying that this is the end at the bottom of the screen. and also that Iron got added to lab mode and survival records are erased, my achievement is gone. So, this is all for Five Nights at Sonic's Maniac Mania. Truth be told, I didn't want to initially finish this game 100%, mainly because of my bias against Ultimate Custom Night fan games, but something else compelled me to do this. In the past, when this game just came out, I actually almost bet it, but for whatever reason I stopped playing. I'm not sure what exactly happened, maybe I simply got bored of the gameplay loop and completing all the boring challenges, but for whatever reason, I never reached the end. And this is the first time I'm actually finishing this game 100%. And while I am happy, I am also unfortunately a lot older than I was when this game came out, and to put it simply, it isn't as good as I remember it being. While graphics and presentation of everything here is top notch, the gameplay is not. The repeating mechanics, especially now, are kind of hitting me harder than they used to. I mean, to be fair, I also played a lot of more fun games since then, and seeing those mechanics repeated over and over again makes those games less enjoyable for me. Like, I have played this before, why am I playing it again? That's kind of what my brain thinks whenever I play something like that. And especially here with so many mechanics repeated from older games, the game rather quickly loses its charm and becomes a slog to get through. Maybe if there were like only 20 challenges, I think I could stomach this way better, but as it is now, I don't really dig it. But don't get me wrong, this is still a pretty good game, and while I think it overstays its welcome, I'd say this is a good beginner level Ultimate Custom Night game. And so far, I also think this is better than Five Nights at Sonic 3. Also, simply considering how many people like it, it is clear that it left an impact. Even if some of that impact was not as positive. Yeah, okay, I cannot put this off any longer, I need to talk about the issues that followed the release. So, what exactly happened? Well, for starters, Smiler didn't like the final version of the game and felt dissatisfied with it. And a bunch of voice actors that helped in the game may have been outed as bad people. So he wanted to make a new version of the game and to also remove problematic people from it. And there were 3 attempts, plus Recoded and Infinite. But at that point those versions were considered uncanon because Maniac Mania was deemed a non-canon entry. Except for Dr. Golden answers at the questionnaire at the end of the game. Those are still canon, which means that he still wants to make Fried Chicken Friday a real thing, and I fully support him. In short, anything made after Maniac Mania was considered a fan game and not an official game. Even if at this point Team Scientix was dissolved, and Switchup moved on from Five Nights at Sonic's. This caused Smiler to try to remake Five Nights at Sonic's itself with Five Nights at Sonic's All-Stars, which were meant to be recoded versions of the games made in Click Team instead of Game Maker with many new additions. But, as he was working on it, on November 26, 2023, Smiler got exposed for having a secret NSFW account on Twitter with a lot of drawings of Toy Tales, Blaze, his underage OCs, and his friends' OCs, causing him to delete all his internet presence and in return cancel work on Maniac Mania Remake and All-Stars. However, after contacting Clones God, I learned that Smiler in fact had a lot, and I do mean a lot more going on behind his back, including but not limited to blacklisting, transphobia, racism, lying, stealing models to make NSFW content, lying to Switchup about what All-Stars really was, which wasn't a simple update to games but reimagining, sharing his NSFW accounts on official Discord, and even more on this image. Considering how I have never heard about this, I am really surprised at this, and now I am sharing this with you because it is better to know more than less. Alright, but that is enough about Smiler and this game in general. Once again, it is the best one so far, better than Five Nights at Sonic 3 and every other game before it. But now I need to go back in time from 2023 to 2022, because after the liquidation of Team Scientix, the long-awaited Rockclones had released in its unfinished development hell state. Alright, so it is finally time for me to talk about Rockclones, or the unfinished build of Rockclones. This is beta 11-F of Rockclones, found in 2.0 version of Five Nights at Sonic Collection, dated May 22nd, 2022. I really don't think I have that much to say about development, because it is pretty much just the definition of development hell. Switchup allegedly kept delaying the work on the main game because he was constantly adding side content no one would care about, which eventually led to him losing the interest in it. and when this game was cancelled, so was Team Scientix. Don't forget, it was worked on pretty much since Five Nights at Sonic's Tale as a replacement for it, so I'm not surprised that happened after being so long in development. The only remnant from development I have found is this website that shows the game was at around 80% completion, so not much was really finished. There are also earlier beta versions of this game, but I could not find the download for them, so unfortunately I cannot cover them. And with that out of the way, let's check out the last beta. So we begin the game with a new exposition dump. This time it is March 2030, and it had been 2 years since clones were captured, Doc Eggman was found dead, and the world is in relative peace. Meanwhile, clones are stuck in another storage unit far away from civilization, rebuilt to their original forms and living happily. And look, they even have food and the internet. What more do you need? But suddenly, Tails notices that someone has been attacking Sonic's Hero Pizza Palace buildings and demolishing them with nothing being done about it. So, since clones still feel connection to those pizzerias, Mario suggests to the rest that they should do something about it and in return be accepted back into the society, which everyone agrees with. But they need some weapons, so 45 minutes later, Tails develops a Doppler Buster arm cannon for each of them to shoot plasma balls at potential enemies. However, because of that, Sonic and Tails cannot curl into their ball forms, because Doppler may accidentally fire and damage them. And as such, clones start their brand new adventure. Not half that bad of a setup. And so we get to the title screen, which is pretty good. Clones in the foreground with Dr. Eggman in the background and Toy's eyes in the darkness. It may look a bit basic, but it very much fits with the theme of being a Mega Man fan game. Then we get to the menus, which also look great and from which we can pick several options. We have main story mode, but also time trials, battle arena for 2 players, yes, this game supports local multiplayer, extras and options. So let's get to the story mode, where you actually have save slots, which is quite cool. Alright, and here we can pick our character, and only 2 are available, Sonic and Mario. And they are slightly different between each other. Sonic has a slide that damages enemies, and Mario just jumps high, but most of the recording was done with Sonic. And after picking your character, you get sent to stage select. And if you couldn't tell this was a Mega Man fan game, now you can. Only 2 stages are selectable, Toy Sonic's and Mario's. So let's start with Toy Sonic. Welcome to Spring Station. This is a good beginner level, out of blue, out of spikes, and things happening in the walls. Enemies here are a mix of Goombas, Beetles, Koopas and Buzz Beetles in 2 colors, all shooting at you. There are a few tricky rooms like this one where you need to balance on a single jumping block while shot at, or having to do some precise platforming. And I can only say that I really like this stage, especially with its music, like wow, it was pretty great. Which isn't original, unfortunately. Alright, before I talk about Toy Sonic, I found this giant ring which brought me to a special stage. In it you collect rings while avoiding bombs, and for winning it you get rewarded with a Chaos Emerald. Alright, so getting to Toy Sonic boss fight, I think is a good boss fight? I'm not really familiar with Mega Man games. I only really played X4, 5, 8, the Game Boy ones and 2, so I don't think I have a lot of knowledge to work with. But I think he is a pretty good boss overall. He mostly just jumps around and shoots at you, occasionally curling up into a ball and bouncing all around the room, which you can negate by just standing close to him when he's charging up. After a bit you defeat him and in Mega Man fashion are given a new weapon. A bounce blade that functions a bit like Buzzsaws from Mega Man 2, but has less ammo and it bounces off walls. Before I move to Toy Mario, let's talk about shop for a minute, shall we? Every time you enter, someone else takes care of it, and you can buy some small power-ups and later on upgrades, like making your Buster able to use charge shots. Don't mind this menu or the fact I give myself cash, I will mention it later. With that out of the way, let's move to Toy Mario. The stage starts pretty calm with nice music, alright background, but after getting to the next screen... Wow. So now, inside the volcano, we have a gimmick with rising lava that rapidly damages you if touched. There are also 2 new enemies, these fireballs that split in 2 when damaged and are a bit annoying to hit, and big turtles shooting fireballs. And a very cool mechanic of fire bars is also introduced, where shooting it speeds it up or slows it down depending on where you shoot it at. Or you can obliterate it with charge shot. Halfway through, the level splits in 2. On the right you have a section focused on moving platforms, and on the left we have a section with disappearing blocks. Because everyone loves platforming over certain depth, However, the music that was playing here was really keeping me going, even if it is once again borrowed from Mega Man games. Sooner than later you'll get to Toy Mario, and he is simpler than Sonic if you ask me. He either shoots at you with fire that splits in two, or jumping high into the air and landing with a shockwave that stuns you, and you need to just jump over it. Pretty easy boss fight, all things considered. Defeating him gives you a burning blitz, a big fireball that splits in two, and this would be all for the game. If not for the debug menu. Typing debug on the first screen of the game and pressing Ctrl gives us this handy menu, allowing me to go wherever I want to and give me anything I want to. And with its usage, I found a few things. First was this cutscene where Tails and Gang are on a plane with Sonic's Hero Pizza Bus insignia on it, saying that they are getting close to the city. Sonic decides to jump off the plane to check for the enemy activity, and we begin playing Peaceful Peaks. This feels like it was supposed to be original first level, mainly because it gives me vibes of Mario 1-1 and Sonic Green Hill. You know, the first levels in the respective games. There are some piranha plants, some Goombas, and it's a pleasant level to play through. For like 5 screens before the stage cuts off. Next I found the Dr. Golden's castle, which I think looks alright, I guess, but there's only one screen we get dropped into and it really only has rain. There is nothing else here. Then I found this creepy screen with Golden Sonic crying some pixels out with text. Is this Origin Sonic's soul crying for help? I also found Toy Yoshi stage, which has no title card, but was supposed to be called Swiftful Seas. Seems to be a water-based level with Sonic's drowning mechanic, and sprite for drowning is quite brittle. But other than 3 rooms, there is nothing else here. I also found a few test stages as expected, and then I ran into this. Yes, this was Persona 5 All Out Attack. I have no clue what is it doing. Was there like an RPG mode being worked on? I don't know, it is definitely a lot of time wasted on this, but I guess it would be cool. But for something more playable, I found this. Your eyes don't deceive you, this is a full-blown recreation of Mario Bros. In Rockclones. I mean, just like Persona 5 All Out Attack, it is cool, but like, why? And unfortunately, this is all for Rockclones. Or at least all I found. Overall, I think this game had a lot of promise. Maybe too much promise in fact, and it is a shame that the series finale is never going to be finished. Well, okay, the game's story is technically available on the wiki page, but you know, I want to play a game, not read a book. But at the same time, compared to the other games, Rockclones doesn't seem to have any fun recreations of it. I have yet to see a single fun attempt at recreating it, but at the same time, I understand why there are no attempts being made. It is a big game, it is ambitious, it is not a fun game, and I can only imagine the amount of time it would take to make it. So yeah, I shouldn't be too surprised. So while I think that this beta was quite promising, I think that in the end, it was trying to do so many things at once that it forgot its original purpose of being the finale to the series. And because of it, Team Scientix dissolved. But I guess that is just the price for ambition. But alright, Team Scientix is liquidated, Smiler is going to be cancelled in a year, and Switchup left game development. So what was going to happen with the series? Well, maybe it is time to bring someone who was a little bit in the shadows beforehand to the light. Say hi to Shaded Sunrose. Actually, she changed her online username from Shaded Sunrose to Spiral. And she is, if my sources are correct, the current owner of Five Nights at Sonic's with Switchup's blessing. She was actually connected to Five Nights at Sonic's for quite a while, being both artist for the series and main person behind many ideas present in Maniac Mania. A quick editor note here, I actually found out that she was possibly responsible for creation of Five Nights at Sonic's World and Sonic's Pizzeria Simulator, but those ideas were apparently then stolen by Babs and made into radioactive hazards. The first thing she released was an updated version of Five Nights at Sonic's collection in June of 2023, which removed problematic people from games, added Rockclones beta, and on October 1st, 2023, a brand new official Five Nights at Sonic's game, Five Nights at Sonic's 4 Halloween Edition, that is an official epilogue to the story. And I can say that I was very excited to play this one, mainly because Halloween Edition is supposed to be a take on the Five Nights at Sonic's 4 DLC. And I'm also interested to see if there are any gameplay changes that were made to this game, because, you know, I didn't really like Five Nights at Sonic's 4. But as a spoiler, I can say that my expectations were surpassed. Oh, and to maybe mention the story a bit, the game takes place after the Rockclones' good ending, where Eggman's spirit left the origin Sonic's body, meaning that he was now a good guy, and clones overall lived a good life. One time during Halloween, Luigi decided to visit them, he saw their costumes, and this somehow triggered his PTSD, making him really Five Nights at Sonic's 4 again. With that out of the way, let's get to the game. The title screen is, of course, a homage to the original one, and it does look pretty nice with this orange tint. Game works in the same way as it did before, no new mechanics got added, so I won't be repeating myself and instead will move to the threats. On night 1 you are introduced to Nightmare Tails and Zombie Sonic. Tails works exactly the same as Nightmare Tails in 4th game did, but Sonic looks even more damaged than when he was Savage Sonic, and he really does deserve to be named Zombie, not even gonna question if he's alive or not. He comes to the hallway and when you hear breathing you hide under the desk and wait for him to walk by. Going to say though, the game is very, and I do mean it, very smooth. This is buttery smooth compared to the original. I know it's not built on the same foundation as it was, but it's just night and day compared to the original. And the art is, of course, way better than the original ever was, but still retains the same charm which after Maniac Mania I didn't know could be achieved. Night 2 introduces Vampire Mario, and as the name would suggest, he hates light, so whenever you see Mario in the hallway you need to keep light on him until he leaves. I cannot believe this is the first time Five Nights at Sonic's 4 enemy uses hallway lights in a meaningful way. And also Pound Toads. There are 4 of them and all appear at the Tails Cove. Green and blue are harmless, yellow one doesn't like light, so you need to stop flashing light whenever you're looking at Tails, and red one's eyes can be seen without flashlight, forcing you to look away. If you flash him, then you die. Pretty good way to make checking on Tails more interesting, I cannot lie here. Night 3 adds Shadow Devil, event replacement for Toymer, once again made interesting. So Shadow progresses through the camera just like Toymer, but when he's above you, you need to check what head you see. If it's Tails' ears, you need to keep on the light. If it's Sonic's, close the vent. And if you see eyes, hide. This makes Shadow Devil a way more engaging threat than Toymer ever was, and isn't as mindless. Kind of like Tails was made more complex with Pound Toads. Additionally, there's Killer Yoshi, but she works just like Sonic and gives strong Jason vibes. Night 4 adds Nightmare Amy, and oh my god, I cannot believe this is the second time we heard about Amy in these games. She makes a bouncing sound when she appears in the hallways. Each time you hear it, she changes the hallway which she is at, and when you hear them getting very loud, you need to hide under the table. And you cannot check for breathing because she straight up doesn't breathe at the doorways. Also, this design is fire. Night 5 adds no one, but Night 6 sure as hell does. This is Nightmare Mimic. He's apparently a character from IDW Sonic comics, which I have never read, but he's apparently an octopus character that can mimic others, and that's exactly what he does here. He can mimic all of the Nightmare versions of clones, except for Tails, and he works just like they did in the original game. Mario and Yoshi approach the door, Sonic zooms past the office, and Golden Sonic floats above the ground, making no footstep sounds. And yeah, this is everyone, and all I have to say is that they all work wonderfully with one another, and I really found no issues to discuss. The game is just that great. After beating Night 6, you get a happy Halloween screen with all clones in their suits. Sonic, I cannot believe you are fine with this. We unlock the extras menu, and with that the ability to check every single character portrait, jumpscare, replay any of the nights, and play survival mode. Of course there's custom night, but I will be honest, my hard drive space is starting to run out, so I'm going to cut this one short, say that this was all for Five Nights at Sonic's Halloween edition. Which was a wonderful time. Gameplay and visuals have been tremendously improved from the original version, and I cannot recommend enough to try it if you didn't click with the 4th game like I did. Definitely above Five Nights at Sonic's 4, 5, 3 and hell. I will be evil and say it is better than Maniac Mania. Sue me. And so after the release, Sunrules teased a new thing on the horizon, Five Nights at Sonic's Remix Collection, a collection of classic Five Nights at Sonic's games updated to version 2.0 with new content. At around the same time there was also an announcement of her spin-off game, Five Nights at Sonic's Solar Switchup, that was meant to be an alternate universe take on it, but with Blaze as the mascot. But first, let's take a look at those 2.0 versions. As of the release of the video, there are two 2.0 versions of Five Nights at Sony's games, Five Nights at Sony's 1 and 2, and both are what you expect. An updated version of the original games with new mechanics, some visual changes, and having a bunch of bugs fixed and being overall more stable. So let's start with Five Nights at Sony's 1. Title screen music is changed, but not much more than that. However, because there is so much empty space on the sides, and we still are running in 4x3, in full screen mode you can add borders to fill it up, only to have some art on it, and others are just generic shapes. In the game proper, Luigi has a new voice actor who addresses my original issue from all the way back when I talked about the original game. He actually sounds like Luigi.
Wait, I'm getting off track. So the original plan for this place was to have the heroes.
Cameras got changed a little bit with added posters that bug me for some reason. I don't know why they don't really look that good, but I don't like their addition for seemingly no reason outside of them being here. Mario and Yoshi work the same, Tails can now run down both hallways, and Sonic can go to the left door and has to be watched on cameras, otherwise he just kills you. And in the custom night you can also add God and Sonic to the roster, but he's still just God and Freddy with no new mechanics. Well, okay, he can also show up behind all the added posters, but that's about it. There's also a new extras menu, and that is all I noticed. Please don't think I am simply skimming past it, because while it doesn't add much, I think it is a solid upgrade to the original version that honestly warrants a replay in case you played the original like I did. All the gameplay changes are great, the added bonus content is pretty good, and yeah, it is just a better version of the original. So now let's see changes in the sequel. Title screen's music is different from the original once again, and the sidebars return once more, although they are way prettier than the first game's offerings. Knuckles has a new voice actor, the music box wheel now has colors instead of being just solid white, and the flashlight may have been changed for the worse because it's segmented now and not slowly draining bar like before. However, the biggest change is in the gameplay, which is basically the same as before, except for Withered Sonic, who kind of flips it on its head. He finally learned how to use vents, and whenever he's in one of them, you need to keep light on him to make sure he goes away, as he isn't fooled by the mask like the others anymore. And whenever he's in the hallway or leaving parts and service, you should shine your light at him till his eyes lose the shine to make him slower. Balloon Toad also announces whenever he leaves, which is quite helpful. And while it doesn't quite solve the prime issue FNaF 2 has, but credit where credit is due, this isn't that half bad of an attempt to change the gameplay up. Hell, I would take any game that isn't just FNaF 2 again. And sorry for keeping this short, but there really isn't that much to talk about here. These are just updated versions of the first two games, recreated on new engine with some small changes. The changes are nice and do shake the gameplay up a bit, but I expected maybe just a little more from these 2.0 versions. Now, why am I talking like there won't be other 2.0 versions for the rest of the games? First of all, because they are cancelled, and second, because of the community apparently. Going by the timeline of Summoner's Game Joe post, not too long after the 2.0 release of the first game, she posted this image announcing that she will be remaking one big Five Nights at Sonic's games that was never made, and slowly but surely deleting some of them. Until she announced that she is indefinitely delaying any information regarding the remake because there isn't enough progress done on it. Though it was later confirmed to be Maniac Mania remake, alongside the 6th entry, Five Nights at Sonic's Phantom Frenzy, meant to retell the story of Rockclones in Five Nights at Freddy's format. And while I cannot exactly check what was going on under the announcements because the comments are disabled, there were apparently a lot of fans, in heavy quotation marks, that allegedly harassed Rose for the minimal changes in the 2.0 updates, and one day she announced cancellation of most of the projects because of the harassment she experienced in the community and disabled the comments everywhere across her profile. However, this didn't stop the development of the next game, Solar Switchup, which is as of now the last entry in Five Nights at Sonic's. But also, because this video took so long, a beta version of Five Nights at Sonic's 3 2.0 was released. Indeed, one day Rose just decided to drop the unfinished beta for the third game's version 2.0 on the official Discord server. And it is exactly what I expected. A smoother version of Five Nights at Sonic's 3. It runs like butter, but it is still Five Nights at Sonic's 3, which is a good thing, because Five Nights at Sonic's 3 is already one of the better entries. I noticed a few small changes in the gameplay, mainly the fact Salvage Sonic can now enter other vents and some behaviors from Phantoms being changed, but other than that, it's pretty much Five Nights at Sonic's 3. Alright, time to wrap things up. Five Nights at Sonic's Solar Switchup is the only currently official Five Nights at Sonic spin-off created by Spiral Twister and released on 24th of December 2024. The game is an alternate universe take on line of events in Five Nights at Sonic's, asking a question: what if events of the game happened in the Blaze's Soul Dimension instead of Sonic's? Alright, you don't even know what Soul Dimension is? It's an alternate universe in which Blaze is the main character and it's a parallel universe to Sonic's. If you want to learn more, you should play Sonic Rush games because they are pretty great, but also because I am moving to the game. Actually, I need to stop myself here because, as it turns out, Five Nights at Sonic's Solar Switchup is about to receive 1.1 update, which is supposed to change some mechanics and the gameplay loop. Which also means that Spiral is now back in the development of Five Nights at Sonic's games, meaning that some stuff may be uncancelled, but all that is confirmed for now is 1.1 update for Five Nights at Sonic's Solar Switchup and possibility of Chapter 2 releasing. And since I was unable to get more information beyond that, this retrospective will cover only the 1.0 release. Alright, that's enough from me, let's get to the game. Oh, interesting, a file select? Not sure why do we need so many, but sure, let's just pick the first one. The title screen is reminiscent of the original Five Nights at Sonic's, but the game actually runs in widescreen. The game opens up with an advertisement for a bakery with Blaze as the mascot. Okay, so getting to the office, it looks pretty great actually. I dig into the aesthetics and decorations, even if it looks pretty long like this. We get called by Lanolin the sheep? Yeah, okay, it's Lanolin. She explains to us the basics of how to deal with the BlazeCon. So I guess instead of waiting till night 3 for the main star of the game, Blaze decided that she starts on night 1. Blaze will come to your doors and whenever she's at them, you need to keep the light on her to make her go away. Do not close the door however, as she will just melt through them, letting anyone come through them and making your power drain. I'd say she is a pretty good subversion of what you expect from FNaF 1 gameplay, and I very much welcome new mechanics in any Five Nights at Freddy's 1 game. Now on the topic of power, I need to talk about the new mechanic connected with it, the backup generators. So Lanolin tells you that there are 3 extra backup generators around the building, but what she fails to tell you is that they are vital to your survival. Power drain in this game is not Five Nights at Sonic's 1 high, but it is quite high. So as a way to combat this, you can charge backup generators. When all are fully charged and your power falls below 0, a backup power reserve activates, giving you extra power depending on how many you charged. Now, this is something I am a bit conflicted about. On one hand, you need to manage your threats alongside generator charging and are given a second chance, but on the other hand, why is it even a mechanic at all? Couldn't we just be given enough power to survive the whole night from the get-go, since you aren't given enough to last to 4 AM if you don't charge it? I mean, hell, Jolly Pack from 2016 had a similar mechanic that I think was implemented just slightly better. I think what I want to say is that the system implemented here makes running out of power, which should be a pretty big fear for players, way less stressful now that you know that there are extra 100 units to spare. It is played around with a bit later on, but I still think that this is not that great of a mechanic, especially since you can easily charge it to max at the start of the night before anyone starts moving. And right, this is all for night 1. Night 2 adds Cheese and Cream, both working as Foxy, or Foxies I guess. Cream rushes down either of the hallways, while Cheese tries to attack you through the vent I forgot to mention. If you see him dash on that camera, close the vent. And Blaze can also attack from here too, so just keep light on her. Not much to say about both of them. I already talked about Foxy's mechanics several times in this video alone. Night 3 adds Silver. Silver walks around the location and can attack through either doorway or the vent. When he's at the door, after closing them, he may try to pry them open with his telekinesis, signified by color change of the button. To prevent that, you need to keep your mouse on the button until it changes color back to normal. And you also can't look at him on camera for too long, or else he will become agitated and speed everyone on the same camera up. For how interesting the idea of having character able to speed others up, I didn't really feel his presence into max mode, and if I'm to complain about something else is that he rarely tries to pry doors open, which while a simple mechanic is way more engaging than closing the door and forgetting about him, I wish he used it more. Night 4 adds Marine. She walks around the building, can go to both doors and vent, but she can also go to a backup generator and try to mess with it. To vent her off, you press this button to shock her and make her go away. If you fail to do this, any backup that was stored will be gone, and you also lose 50% power, which is a death sentence. Don't forget, you cannot survive without it, but whatever. We actually get a mechanic with these generators. On night 5, Blossom Blaze activates as this game's version of Golden Sonic. She doesn't appear in the office, but does mix a few characters into one. In vents or a doorway, she's fended off with light like Blaze, but can also attack generators like Marine and gets agitated like Silver by looking at her. Pretty good final enemy, and I can't say no to a last character to be a mix-up of the roster for the final night. And this is the last character, and I think you can tell that I like this blend of mechanics. Only one I don't like isn't even a character, as everyone else just works very well with one another, and I dare to say, it is a nice switch up to the FNaF 1 formula. I'm sorry for that one. For night 5 you get a paycheck for Gordon the Koala and unlock night 6, but nothing interesting happens there since no one new is added. And for beating that we get access to gallery to view character portraits, character cutouts and custom night. There are some pre-made changes, but of course I went for the max mode immediately. And I have to say, this was actually quite challenging. I somehow died to every single character in the game because I kept forgetting about one of them, and I have to mention the jumpscares though since they are really well animated. Like, my god, it's beautiful. I died a bunch of times, but I still felt engaged with the game, which should speak to its quality. And I'm going to boast a bit, but I bet the custom night in the coolest clutch possible. For completing it, we get a teaser for the next game, with a cruiser in the background. So this was Five Nights at Sonic's sort of switch up. I mean, is it even right to compare it with original Five Nights at Sonic's 1? No, not really, but it is a way better version of it. All characters and mechanics blend well with one another, art is great, and I only question only one mechanic in this game. I will put it above the Halloween edition because I like it so much. It is a great game all around, and I wish it was covered more. Go play it right now. And as such, I talked about all the Five Nights at Sonic's game. Fuck, I forgot about Reimagined games. I am not going to lie here, I totally forgot about this side of Five Nights at Sonic's until I looked at the image again and realized that for some reason, this series is technically part of Five Nights at Sonic's. Not officially though. Okay, so Five Nights at Sonic's Reimagined is an officially endorsed Five Nights at Sonic's fan game created by Sonic 4925 and was released on 14th of May 2015. This happened because he was an official member of Team Scientix back in the day, and with that his games became an official part of Five Nights at Sonic's, but are still in their own canon. As of writing, the third game is still in development with demo released in 2022 and being in development since 2018. My god, this is some development how. Alright, let's go with the first game because I have not much to say about it. It's Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but with Sonic models as opposed to drawings. The whole game looks like a weird child of Five Nights at Wario's with its use of 2D images and 3D models, but it lacks any unique mechanics from that series. Story-wise, we are a night guard at an abandoned Sega building where animatronic versions of the Sonic cast were stored. The place is very small though, with only 8 cameras. The phone guy is kinda boring and I honestly forgot what he was even talking about. I think it was related to some people dying at this place and bodies never being found or something, I don't remember. On night 5 someone evil talked to me, and then I got paid. Gameplay wise, it's Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Tails and Knuckles, who are not clones but robots. Wait, why do they have blood on them? You know what, I am too tired to ask questions at this moment, I just want to get this over with. They go to the doors, close them if you see them. Sonic grabs the hallway camera when he attacks, close the right door to defend against him. There are also two golden Sonic-like beings, Super Sonic and Black Sonic, who act the same. When you see them on camera, they will appear in the office and you need to put cameras back up to not die. I really have not much more to say, it's just Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but boring. Five Nights at Sonic's 2 Reimagined has a similar issue. It's a FNaF 2 clone, but has a few differences. Now we are working in a brand new Sega incorporated building, where instead of Sonic cast we have girls with Amy, Cream and... what was her name again? Ah, right, Sally. The layout is different, and instead of hallway we have 2 side hallways that act like vents and door behind us. Looks wise, instead of using images, this game has some simple free modeled environments that look good enough for 2016 game. There is of course music box with Tails though. If you see one of the girls in the hallways you need to put on the mask. There are 2 different fungi alternating between the nights. The first one claims to be the brother of the last game's fungi, who is apparently still missing, and the other one is a woman who seems to be a new worker here and doesn't really understand what is going on. After the night, you get a minigame where Amy goes to the office and gets attacked by Black Sonic. Night 2 adds Omochao, who is way more annoying than Balloon Boy and is also deterred by the mask, and withered Sonic, Tails and Knuckles. Sonic rushes into the office and stands there, and you put on the mask to deter him. And unfortunately, I have no clue how the other two guys work, because the game crashes every time I play Night 2. Apparently it is an issue in other people's copies too, so my best guess it's some spaghetti code breaking on new Windows versions. Nah, joking. Large Others Aware once again saved me and made this game playable again. Okay, so Knuckles just comes to the office and T-poses while you put on the mask, and Tails stands in the hallway behind you, which you need to use a camera flashlight to deter him like Withered Foxy, but on camera, and only when the game tells you to. And this is everyone new to Night 5. May as well mention that some characters walk behind this window in front of you, and to be honest, they just look cool. And I would love to talk about the minigames after each night, but to be honest, they are the same minigame repeated over and over again. Night 1 and 4 minigames are pretty much the same: walk to the office with a new character, get attacked by Dark Sonic and end the minigame. Night 5 minigame, however, shows Sally getting locked in some kind of storage room by Shadow before he burns the place down. Alright, on Night 5, Super Sonic and Dark Sonic start attacking, but they are just Golden Freddy's again. Whenever you see them in office or behind the window, put on the mask. We get a paycheck, access to Night 6 with information that apparently we shouldn't be here because robots are haywire. Yeah, get more cash, you do Custom Night, beat Custom Night, gets told that the location burned down, and that was that. Yeah, not much more to say than that. All that is there to say is that it's a FNaF 2 clone, maybe a pinch more original than Five Nights at Sonic's 2, but not by much. So let's move to the final game, where I actually have some things to say. Five Nights at Sonic's 3 Reimagined is Five Nights at Freddy's 3, but this time it actually tries to be a bit more original. As mentioned before, this game is most likely cancelled because Sonic is rarely online, and when he is, he doesn't really seem to post anything about 3 Reimagined, meaning all we have left is a demo he released in 2022. Starting a new game, sorry title screen is kinda boring, shows us that it's 2030 and a new horror attraction based on Sega Incorporated is going to open soon. There are actually no mentions of them needing someone for night guard position, but you know, we need to have gameplay. So the fungi tells us some legal stuff and talks about the place, yada, let's just skip to night 2 so I can talk about the gameplay. Oh, never mind. After the end of every shift you'd get a diary entry from our god, and it's him complaining about the job. On night 2, just like in FNaF 3, the crew finds a forgotten animatronic, that being Sally, that has seen better days, and I am very curious why is there blood on her. Does it mean that she's bleeding? Is this some ultra cool organic robot shenanigans? Also, I guess locking her up in that closet was canon, but the fungi says it was a shed, not a closet, so maybe a retcon? He also finds some tapes on how to take care of robots, and that's all we will hear for the rest of the game. Right, I should talk about the gameplay. So this is your standard FNaF 3 gameplay: small location, outdoor doors, vents that can be closed, Springtrap equivalent to the Sully, and panel to reboot things, this time inside of the camera panel, which is handy. There are however two original mechanics. One is the door in front of you, which you can close if Sally is at the window to prevent dying and give you time to lure her back. They do have their own power meters, so you can't keep them closed forever. The other mechanic is on the left side of the office, a shitty AC unit. Right alongside all that cool stuff, the fungi mentioned their opening, people complained about the heat inside of the building. So to alleviate the issue, they put a single chip AC unit in our office and called it a day. So now you are introduced to a temperature mechanic displayed in both Celsius and Fahrenheit for some reason. While AC unit is running, it will keep the building at nice 16 degrees, but from time to time it will shut off, and to turn it back on you need to mash the button because it sometimes locks up. I'm not sure what temperature does exactly, maybe it speeds up Sally or something. I don't really notice a difference between low and high temperature. There's also a ghost of Omochao on camera who acts like Balloon Boy, but instead of breaking camera and jumpscaring you, he just pulls them down. Tonight's diary entry talks about realistic concerns related to Sally being in the building, and also recalling that the guard used to go to the new Sega Incorporated building, as he recalls all robots he saw there and is surprised how Sally survived the fire that occurred there, which compels him to stay for the whole week. Night 3 adds Phantom robots, that of Sonic, Tails and Amy, or Soul robots as Switchup calls them. Sonic and Tails appear on left and right side of the office when pulling cameras down. Put them back up to get rid of them. Amy walks behind the window, keep the camera up when she does it to keep you safe, which you are already doing. Also, Sari was really aggressive tonight for some reason. Maybe the small size of location just creates the illusion that she's fast because she doesn't have that many cameras to go through to reach the office or ventilation, but doors are quite an effective solution. And if I'm going to describe gameplay, I'd say it is very tight. Maybe even more than FNaF 3, Five Nights at Sonic's 3 was. The location is very slow, which means that keeping Sally away is very hard, especially since almost every camera has a vent leading to your office, making it a very fun Five Nights at Freddy's freestyle game. Night 3's diary entry talks about Guard going crazy because he sees animatronic hallucinations, and then the game ends thanking you for playing. However, as it turns out, there are in fact more nights to this experience. It turns out that the full game is in fact here. You just need to change the night value in the save file to access the rest of it. And to be fair, it's not that much different from Night 3. There are of course new threats being added, like Soul Cream, Knuckles and Tails Doll, Soul Cream appearing in the office in place of Tails, Knuckles appearing in ventilation, and Tails Doll on one camera acting like Fat Dom Puppet. Avoid this camera at all costs. Focus are also nothing to write home about, just Fungi getting more scared and Tapes continuing to say nothing important. Although I did get Sally to somehow break the window into the office on night 6. I'm not sure what I did wrong, but it was a very cool event to experience. I couldn't repeat it, so I have no clue what I did wrong here. Oh, and Dark Sonic is also here. He works just like 27's Golden Sonic. After you get through night 6, the screen gets soft locked because the ending wasn't implemented yet. And so this was all for Five Nights at Sonic's Reimagined 3. This was, in my opinion, the best Reimagined game to date. First two were carbon copies of Five Nights at Freddy's, and this one is actually trying to do something at least a bit more original, and while I will say that the gameplay could use some ironing out, it is still the best of the three games. Whether Sonic is working on the third game in Shadows or has unofficially cancelled it, I will still put it as the best one, even if it is just a demo. And so, on that note, I am done with Reimagined Trilogy. Again, I don't hate the first two games, but they are just pretty generic FNaF clones with Sonic characters, which is the exact issue Five Nights at Sonic's avoided by adding Mario characters to the mix. Don't get me wrong, I think it is very much possible to make Five Nights at Sonic's game with mostly Sonic characters, but in this case, I think it was just hit with the generic Five Nights at Freddy's fan game syndrome. And now, we have reached the end. I am quite tired of this series at this point, if you couldn't tell. And after experiencing all of that for almost 3 hours, what is my verdict? I think this series was a one big meh. First 5 games were a mixed bag, with only 2 I would call at least decent, rest being not very good to say at least. Maniac Mania has a big stain on it because of developers and controversy it accumulated in spite of being a pretty good game at the core. World and Pizzeria Simulator gave me lobotomy, and Sun Rose's contributions were great. 2.0 versions are actually very fun to play, Switchup and Halloween are pretty great send-offs. And even with knowledge that Sun Rose returned as Spiral, I am not sure if I see the future for this series. After experiencing it all and seeing just how many cancelled projects there were and how mishandled the series was for the most part, it just makes this seemingly classic Five Nights at Freddy's fan game series very mediocre in retrospective. The series doesn't give me the feel that it wants to be something more than just a mediocre FNaF fan game, and especially when it tried to branch out, it kind of felt like it was just Switchup trying to capitalize on success of another game. I mean, tell me with straight face that Five Nights at Sonic's Tale wasn't supposed to be a simple Undertale fan game to capitalize on success of Undertale. It is quite impressive that a bunch of teenagers were able to keep up this series, alongside developing other games as Team Scientics, but compared to the other FNaF fan game series at the time, and even now, they definitely lacked the experience required to actually handle a big team. And I don't really want to touch on the story because while I think it is pretty straightforward, it requires you to read that document outside of the games to understand a good bulk of it, and there are still not only some unexplained parts of it, worst of all, if you were to play just the games, you wouldn't even know that it's theoretically finished. I do hope for Rockclones or Phantom Frenzy remake to tie the story up, but as it is, the story is above average, but it could be explained better in the games. So maybe to conclude the official side of the things, Five Nights at Sonic's feels like a series that is stuck in pre-2020 world. It's not certainly a bad thing, but considering how much farther the quality of fan games jumped after 2020, compared to other FNaF fan game series that were popular before, Five Nights at Sonic's looks pretty low quality, is pretty much abandoned by its original developers, and even a little bit by the current official developers, and is overall rather mediocre compared to them. However, fans of it are very much still keeping it alive, with a lot, and I do mean a lot of cool projects, fan games and retellings, often better than the main games, and if I were to recommend someone the series, I would just tell them to play those fan-made versions, because they are simply better. And I will simply hope that the official games will one day reach the quality of those fan versions, and maybe even surpass it. So I will please ask you to support all the projects and developers I flashed on the screen just now, because they deserve it for keeping up the legacy of the series that, in spite of being pretty bad, at the end of the day, the people working on those fun games are trying to polish these concepts up and make very good games out of it. Which is the essence of fandom culture, isn't it? Well, now I need a solid snap to get all the radioactive substances Babsy Good Games gave me out of my system. Take care everyone, I am signing off.